All sports, all the time.
There's heroes and there's legends. Heroes get remembered. Legends never die.
This is the Spoken Podcast.
Hold your ears, folks. It's showtime.
I'm your host, Lance Twidwell.
Man, that kid, he can ball, man. He can ball.
Touchdown, Kansas City!
Patrick freaking Mahomes, baby!
Let's talk some sports, because that's what we're here to do.
You are tuned in to The Spoken.
This is the Spoken Podcast. I'm your host, Lance Twidwell, here inside the Starcade Media Studios with my guy, Trevor Twidwell.
What's good?
Episode 226 is in full swing, full motion. We're so happy to be here with you and for you to be here with us, whether you were live streaming, whether you were podcasting, or whether you were YouTubing. We want to thank you so much for being with us in this time as we have another jam-packed show for you guys. A lot of football, a lot of great discussion to be had in the world of sports. I know this is the deadest month of the sports world, especially here in America. But you know what? We always find things to talk about because here's the best part.
Baby.
The Chiefs training camp has already begun. We know that the rookies had come. Now the veterans are starting to report. There's also a couple veterans out there. Chris Jones' watch is now officially underway. We can discuss that a little bit. I know that that's a question you guys are going to be asking, so we might save that for a segment that we'd like to call Speak It, which we give you guys the floor. You guys give us your questions, your concerns, your takes. Whatever you guys got, hit us up on YouTube, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification button, and then get that thing going, man. Get your guys' fingers going on the Twitter machine, or on, the YouTube machine, rather, whether you guys are typing on your computers or you're hitting us up on your phones. Whatever you guys are doing, however you're watching the show right now, or you're watching later on, hit us up in the comment box. We'd love to hear from you guys. We'd love to know what you guys have going on in your world as well, because, man, we like to keep up with you guys. We like to know what your guys' thoughts, opinions, viewpoints are, because it's very important to us, because as we like to consider this an absolute community that we have here at the Spoken Podcast, and we appreciate every single one of you that have been a part of it, whether it's just you now starting off or you've been with us from the beginning. It doesn't really matter. All we do know is that you're now here, and that's all that matters, and we're so grateful for you guys, and we're so thankful for you. And the best part about being in a community is a lot of times you get to be forgiven. And today I'm going to start this show off with something Trevor's not even aware of. I am going to apologize to every single one of you. And it's I'm not somebody that deals with a lot of pride to the point where I'm not willing to humble myself and admit when I'm wrong. In fact, it's quite the opposite. I'm somebody that's very quick to do that, and sometimes it can be a little off-putting because you're like, dude, we get it. Okay, you're sorry. Jesus Christ, calm down. For the last, I would say, 5 months or so, yeah, it's been about 5 months. 5 months and some change. I have been trying my damnedest to convince all of you Chiefs fans that DeAndre Hopkins was in it for the winning. That this man who had made $115 million at this point of his career was ready, and he was sick and tired of all the losing. He was collecting a lot of big fat checks, but he was sick of the losing. Because according to DeAndre Hopkins himself, he was looking for his new location even before he was released from the Cardinals. He was looking for a place that had stable front office, a quarterback that wanted to win. He wanted all these things that checked the boxes of what the Chiefs are. And he never mentioned he wanted a team that was going to give him a fat stack of money. I'm sure that was something he wanted all along, and that's something I did acknowledge. But I do want to sit here and look you in the eye right now, the viewing audience, and sincerely apologize to you for leading you guys astray and making you believe that this guy was somebody that was actually trying to come to Kansas City and win a Super Bowl. Because that is clearly not what DeAndre Hopkins is about. That is clearly not what DeAndre Hopkins wanted. Is this me taking a shot at him as a person? No, because you know what? I am happy as hell that he went and got himself the money. I think it's great whenever somebody can go out there and get a fat stack of cash. Trevor and I have said this on the show many times. I've said this off the air. Whenever I know somebody can go and get the most money, you go and get it. If somebody's willing to pay you that money, go and get it. But what I don't want is to be lied to. I don't want to be told that this is something that you are looking for in your career, and it's the complete opposite. That's not what DeAndre Hopkins was looking for, because if you look at the team that he just signed that $30 million deal with, which was the Tennessee Titans, they don't have a stable front office. In fact, just a year ago, they just fired their GM for, ironically, trading off their star receiver, A.J. Brown. So that doesn't sound like stability to me. Then you're talking about the quarterback situation. He listed off 5 quarterbacks. Trevor, I don't know if you can go back and play it or not, but I don't recall Ryan Tannehill's name being in that mix. And for the chances of Will Levis probably playing at some point this season, it looks like he's going to play with a rookie quarterback, which he said he didn't want either. So I want to apologize to all you guys because I know that I wore a lot of you guys out. I know I ad nauseum on this show and our Facebook group on Twitter. I went ham because it made all the sense in the world for DeAndre Hopkins. It made all the sense in the world for the Chiefs on both ends for this marriage to happen. And instead, it was DeAndre Hopkins who was really just looking for the money. I told you guys that I thought he was using the Tennessee Titans and the New England Patriots and whoever else out there to gauge his market. And for him to go back to the Chiefs, once the Chiefs had the Chris Jones extension done and set in place, he would figure out, okay, guys, this is what they're offering me. This is what I think I'd be willing to take for it with a team like you guys, who I know I'm getting more than just money with. I'd be getting a chance to win a legitimate Super Bowl with you guys. I'd be willing to compromise there. That's not what happened. What ended up happening is that DeAndre Hopkins just played the waiting game with the Tennessee Titans, a team that is very much desperate for wide receiver play, and he ended up getting the money he wanted for. Because if you remember, Jeremy Fowler, Ian Rappaport, Albert Breer, all the connected individuals out there for NFL sources was saying that there was not a market close to what OBJ got from the Ravens for DeAndre Hopkins. Well, if you really look at it, guys, he got the exact same deal with an added year to it that OBJ got from the Ravens. OBJ got a deal that was around $18 million on a one-year contract. DeAndre Hopkins just got a multi-year deal that's going to be at value of about $30 million if everything goes well for him, incentive-laden. So this was always about the money. I had this belief, and it's very naive. I'll give you guys that. It was a very naive belief that this was going to be something that DeAndre Hopkins wanted to do, was to take a little bit less. Because, as we do know, D-Hop and Patrick Mahomes were talking this offseason. And as our guy Pat Sr. did say, D-Hop would have to be willing to take a little bit of a haircut to get the afro later on. So we knew that he was not going to ever make big money here in Kansas City because, quite frankly, the Chiefs weren't going to be able to scrounge enough cash up to do it. They could pay him a realistic, a feasible, more team-friendly type deal, but the rewards that would come afterwards would give D-Hop so much more than the money that any money could buy him, which is a legacy that solidifies his Hall of Fame career. But as we've learned, and as we've learned time and time and time again, that doesn't matter to everybody. Legacy doesn't matter to everybody. This is why we are so lucky here to have Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce. Because both of these guys, if they wanted to, could simultaneously break the bank on the Chiefs. They could demand the highest dollar from both these guys command the highest dollar from the Chiefs. The Chiefs would have to ultimately give it to them because they know how valuable these two guys are. And they would strap them even more so than they've already been. They wouldn't be able to extend Chris Jones. They wouldn't be able to, if they wanted to extend L'Jarius Sneed, wouldn't be able to do that. They wouldn't be able to pay Nick Bolton in a year or two. They wouldn't be able to pay Willie Gay this offseason. They wouldn't be able to pay Creed Humphrey or Trey Pancake Papa Smith. None of these things would happen if Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce had the same mentality that D-Hop does, which is money first. So we better count our blessings here, man, because as bummed as I am about D-Hop not coming to Kansas City, and as sorry as I am to tell you guys this was going to happen, we do need to count our blessings here and realize just how fortunate we are that our quarterback and our tight end, our superstar quarterback and tight ends, are not driven by money. They want to continue to win. That's good news for us here in Kansas City for the foreseeable future. But I also want to talk about the realistic situation that we have here at wide receiver, because of the fact that I think this is the biggest, Trevor, I think this is the biggest storyline in this offseason. And actually, let me take a step back here for a second, because I think it's only fair, because I don't want to dominate this conversation. I do want to get your thoughts on the DeAndre Hopkins situation, Trevor, because we found out you actually were the one that broke the story to me. I wasn't even on my phone at the time, and you're the one that broke the story to me. So I want to you and I really haven't talked much about it off the air, and I think that might be intentional, so we can really give our genuine thoughts here to each other. But give me your takeaway of what happened this last week, man.
I first of all, I don't think you owe anyone an apology. You had a stance. You had a point of that you believed in, right? And I don't think you owe anybody an apology. I say fuck that. But that's me. That's my approach. I'm not apologizing to anyone for ad nauseum on this show talking about how he's going to be here and it's the best fit, because it was, and it is still the best fit, and it is still the best opportunity for him. We got all the people coming out of the woodworks talking about how he was never coming here. Lance, we knew it all along. Everyone knew it. No, you didn't. There was a lot of people just weren't bold enough to make that statement and boldly say that he was going to be a Chief, and it made more sense than it didn't. So the fact that he chose the Titans is a terrible choice in my opinion. But if he wants to get the money, he's made a lot of money in his career already. So it made more sense for me if he wanted to come win and collect some jewelry. But listen, man, he's a grown man, made a choice. I'm not taking anything personally. I'm a grown man sitting here. I'm not going to get upset about another grown man making a decision for his grown man life. He has a family. He has decisions to make for whatever dependence he has in his life or himself in general. Do you, man? I really don't care. I just wanted to see him in a Chiefs uniform, and I thought it would have been a great pairing with Patrick Mahomes, and it would have been. But it's not reality now, and we have. Look, I'm not, dude. It's already behind me. Yeah. I'm not that guy that's going to sit here and be super reactive and bummed and boohoo about it. I'm also not going to be the guy that's going to try to say, if I didn't believe he was going to be here, I'm not going to be one of those morons online trying to say, I told you so, blah, blah, blah. No one knew. We are waiting on his decision. If you think he wasn't considering coming here, you're an idiot. He was considering coming to Kansas City. Stop acting like it was never going to happen. If the chips fell in the right way for him, he would be a Chief right now. Let's stop acting like it's way more nuanced than that. Life is way more nuanced than that. Business decisions are way more nuanced than that. Let's be intelligent. At least attempt to look intelligent for a few minutes here. So for me personally, man, it sucks. I've been a D-Hop fan since the beginning of his career. We've seen what he's done with lackluster talent at quarterback, and what he could have done with Patrick Mahomes could have been something for the history books. We're not going to get that opportunity to see that, manifest into reality now, which is unfortunate. But we got some young stallions in this wide receiver room that could possibly become something. Some people out there think that they are already something, and we don't have to worry about anything, even though this wide receiver room is more depleted than last year's when we lost Tyreek Hill and everyone was freaking out about it. And don't act like you weren't freaking out about it, because you were. When arguably the best receiver in football, leaves your team, and then we just decided to go out there and have the best offense in football. What I think about this wide receiver room right now, is that the next question you were asking?
Well, I'm going to get into it for a second, but I wanted to get your initial thoughts on D-Hop.
Yeah, man, but as far as D-Hop stuff, I'm not a guy that's online a lot, just sitting here looking at everybody's chatter, but I do see things here and there. I even see things in our comments. I just think it's a silly thing to act like this was never something that was, it was being mentioned, like you said, from all the biggest names in sports talk, all the biggest talking heads were talking about it. Although our guy Nick Wright was never on board with that, he was never acting like it wasn't going to happen. Right. He was saying the Chiefs didn't need him. So everyone was considering this, and D-Hop for sure was considering this. He was being cryptic about a lot of things and ended up just going the money route. That meant more to him at the end of the day. Cool. I'm fine. We still have the best quarterback and best head coach in the league. Yep. So I'm cool with it, man. We're moving forward, and all I can do is hope that these wide receivers that we're going to discuss, this wide receiver room, can develop some guys, and hopefully we find out who our wide receiver one is at some point. If we do have one, if we don't, we'll figure that out moving forward.
The beautiful thing about where we sit is that we get to have the luxury of having opinions and putting them out there and projecting our thoughts and opinions on this team and how they're built, and we don't have to bear the responsibility of what comes with that. That's one relief I do have, because Brett Veach knows how to build an NFL roster better than I can ever imagine.
Sure.
And despite already knowing that, what happened this week taught me a very valuable lesson. And that's that the Chiefs will not budge in contract talks or negotiations, even if it means that they don't solidify an area of need.
Which is why this Chris Jones situation is taking a minute. They got to make it a win for both sides.
Whether folks want to accept it or not, wide receiver is still very much a need for the Chiefs.
100%, man.
And most of you agree with me, even if you don't think you do. Because most of you were pounding the table for the Chiefs to draft a wide receiver in the first round, even though we knew this is a thin wide receiver class, and the Chiefs had the 31st overall pick, which was the last pick of this year's first round. But that didn't stop Chiefs fans from wanting to be where the Chiefs attacked the first round. That was with Kadarius Toney. That was with Sky Moore. That was with MVS and JUSTYN Ross on the roster.
Facts. Everybody wanted a first-round wide receiver.
The Chiefs wait until the second round to take a wide receiver, and now we're going to pretend as if these same guys are enough?
Yeah.
I want Kadarius Toney, Sky Moore, Rashee Rice, and the rest of these young wide receivers to turn into something special, but I knew the Chiefs not only needed to replace Juju, but upgrade from Juju, and so did a lot of you. The only difference is how we wanted the Chiefs to do so. I was someone who very much believed in the Chiefs going the veteran route because the Chiefs still don't have a single proven wide receiver one on this roster. And the best way to change that is to go and get a top 10 wide receiver in free agency, and there was just someone that happened to be there, as we just talked about. Maybe it was all the money, again, with D-Hop, and maybe the Chiefs would have never been able to match the Titans dollar for dollar. That doesn't change the fact that the Chiefs still have a massive question mark at the top of their wide receiver room. Whether you were on the side of drafting a first wide receiver or you were on my side of getting the proven veteran difference-making wide receiver one, the Chiefs did neither, and now the pressure has never been heavier on Mahomes and Kelsey. Sure, they could make it work and win another Super Bowl this way. It could very well happen. They are the prohibitive favorites. They got maybe the best roster in football.
And they likely will.
I'm hoping that's the case. But if the Chiefs want to stretch out this duo for as long as they can expect them to not only replicate 2022, but now do it with even less around them with no Juju. And here's what I want to say about Juju real quick. Because I've had people sit here and talk about how this is the same wide receiving core the Chiefs just won the Super Bowl with. No, it's not. No, it is not.
Right.
Juju Smith-Schuster was by far and away the best receiver on this team last season. He led the team, he led wide receivers rather, in targets, receptions, yards per game, and was second in touchdowns by only one. That guy's now with the Patriots. And again, the Chiefs did not upgrade or replace him. If Kadarius Toney can stay healthy, if Sky Moore can develop his game, if Rashee Rice can become the first wide receiver rookie to produce at a high level in Andy Reid's offense in over a decade, then these concerns won't matter. But that's all based upon what, Trevor? Ifs.
Hope.
The Chiefs are in the midst of a dynasty. You don't sustain and maintain dynasties on ifs, but rather on sure things. That's why we feel so confident here that the Chiefs can still overcome these things. Why? Because of who Trevor just mentioned a minute ago. Well, they still have Andy Reid, and they still have Patrick Mahomes, they still have Travis Kelce. Those are our sure things. And you have to continue to add those sure things to continue a dynasty. I know everybody likes to pretend that Tom Brady won those 7 Super Bowls on his own, but guys, 6 of them, he had a Hall of Fame head coach and an elite defense, every single one of them. And most times he had one of the greatest tight ends of all time. He had a great wide receiver, at least one in almost every single one of those last 4 Super Bowls. Guys, you have to have sure things. You have to know what you're getting every single week. Because I hope it works out. And because if it does, the Chiefs will repeat as Super Bowl champions. Which at the end of the day, regardless of where our opinions reside, that's what we all want here. And that's the point I'm trying to make. Is that none of us should be going against each other when it comes to how we want to see this team, what we want to see this team do. We just might have a difference of opinion on how they get there. And that's what I try to remind fans every single offseason. This isn't supposed to be doom and gloom. We're not sitting here trying to be negative Nancy's and try to make it sound like we don't believe in the Chiefs. And it's so funny. I've gotten this so many times, Trevor, on Facebook, Twitter, everywhere. People are like, Lance, you got to start trusting in Brett Veach. Trevor, I don't think there's a single human being on this planet that I trust more than you. But are you going to sit here, Trevor? And I'm sure it's probably on the flip side. You probably trust me more than a lot of people on this planet.
Yep.
But I'm sure there are things between you and I that we don't agree on. Ways that we go about certain things, how we handle shit. Mm-hmm. I'm sure there are a lot of things we don't agree on. But does that change the trust? No. We're just difference of opinion. We just have different viewpoints on different things. That's okay, because like I said at the top, Brett Veach knows this game and how to build a roster better than I could ever imagine. That doesn't mean that my opinion needs to be in complete parallel and complete unison with his every single time, because it's not going to be. And if that's your way, if you're just going to just agree with everything he says and does, that's your way. But that's not mine. I have opinions on things. Because if you recall, guys, for the previous 3 decades before Patrick Mahomes, everybody excused the fact the Chiefs never refused to draft a quarterback in the first round. How did that work out? But you know what I was? I was one of those few young guys out there who were pounding the table and saying, Chiefs, draft and develop a first-round quarterback. No, Lance, Alex Smith is good enough. He can get the job done. They just need more of this and more of that and more of this. And every single year, top 10 defense, top 10 defense, top 10 defense, top 10 defense, skill position players out the ass, awesome offensive line, Andy Reid. What was holding the Chiefs back? The quarterback position. John Dorsey, these other GMs throughout the history of time, Carl Peterson, built awesome rosters. But that didn't mean that I was going to agree with the way they did things, because I didn't. And what ended up happening? The moment Brett Veach had the balls, well, it was really still John Dorsey, but Brett Veach is the one that told them, you got to draft this guy, and Andy Reid signed off on it. The moment they decided to take the quarterback position seriously, take the biggest risk in franchise history and trade up 17 spots in the first round in 2017, what happened to this franchise? It went from being a middling, irrelevant, good but never great franchise to literally the top dog, and it has not changed for 5 years, and it's not changing anytime soon. So I disagreed with that back then. I'm going to disagree with things in 5 years from now, but that doesn't mean that we all don't want to see the trajectory of what the Chiefs have become what the normal is, because now it's Super Bowl or bust. And I know that's weird for some of us still, because most of our lives that hasn't been the case as Chiefs fans, but now it has, so the pressure is on. And speaking of pressure, and I'm getting so far, I'm so amped up, Trevor. I want to talk about this stuff so badly. You know what? Give me your thoughts on this too, Trevor. What on the wide receiver room as it is, because I'm trying to jump ahead because I had so much to say. I need to give you your floor real quick, man. That where this wide receiver room is right now. Do you think that it's up to par to not? Yes, like I said, the Chiefs could still win a Super Bowl with this team, but do you have the utmost confidence that this wide receiver room is enough to take some of that pressure off of Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce, because everyone's just assuming it is?
It's absolutely not, and that's my whole point. That's why I wanted D-Hop here. I mean, we continue. This is going to be the second consecutive year we've actively made things harder on Patrick Mahomes. And granted, the guy continues to perform and continues to not prove us wrong, but prove that he can do more and is capable of more and more every year. He continues to outperform himself every season, which is insane. So I'm not doubting him at all. I'm not doubting that we can win a Super Bowl, but we continue to make the path harder, right? And the AFC has got nothing but that much more stiffer, and the competition is that much more, tough. We got Aaron Rodgers in this division now.
Conference, yeah.
Or this conference, yeah. So I'm saying, like, the AFC in general is an absolute juggernaut, right? So there's so much talent in the AFC, and especially in our division, which is arguably the best division of football. Now with Sean Payton in this division, now another top tier head coach, that will change things, I'm sure, for the better of the Broncos. And the Broncos give us trouble no matter how terrible they were or not. Now they got Sean Payton, so we got a lot of different things that are going to be more of a challenge this year. And our offensive weapons got worse. Right now, they're worse. If you are in denial if you're going to act like our offensive weapons are better this year heading into the season. You're lying to yourself. Could they become better? Could on paper could Rashee Rice be that outlier rookie? I hope so.
Yeah.
And when it comes down,
we're not rooting against that.
No. In my opinion, as much as I want to D-Hop here, in my opinion, what this wide receiver room, it's just based on faith, because that's all we have right now. We're having hope, and we have faith in Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes to figure it out and develop these guys quickly. I'm excited about this wide receiver room. It's very young, very inexperienced, which is the scary part, which should give you some pause. But at the same time, I'm always excited to see young developing guys. But the thing is that's our status is different than every other team. We're at the hilltop. We're on the top of the mountain, and everyone's trying to pull us down from the top. And to remain at the top, you want to have proven commodities that can help you build upon that and stay up top. Now we have a bunch of unproven commodities that are possibly and very well could prove themselves this year to become proven commodities. That takes reps, and that's unknown. And people are acting like these guys are going to be an absolute all-star wide receiver room or a very competent wide receiver room. This could be an awful wide receiver room. Kadarius Toney could get hurt in week one. Like this is a scenario I'm creating. Kadarius Toney could go down week one, miss a handful of weeks, and then we're banking on MVS to be the guy, or we're banking on because we don't even have McColl here anymore to do the gadgety stuff, so we're banking on Sky Moore to take that next step, which we don't know. We don't know if that's going to be the case, and we're banking on Rashee Rice to be hot out the gate kind of wide receiver in this offense, which is very tough to learn. It takes veterans years to learn this offense sometimes. So my word for this wide receiver room is excited. I am very excited about because let's talk about talent. There's a lot of talent, with Justin Ross and guys like this, sure. That could become something. And then it's exciting to fathom. It's exciting to think about. It's exciting to possibly have that in reality. It's not a reality yet, though. There's a lot of hype going on between some of these guys, and If it comes to be, it comes to be. But right now, where I'm sitting right now, I'm very uncertain and I'm very uneasy about this. You know what I mean? Our defense, I'm solid on our defense as far as what our defense is going to do and carry on this season. I think they're going to take what they did last year and carry on with that and get nothing but better. I think we have something rolling there with this young defense. But the wide receiver room should give you pause. But I will say I am excited to see Rashee Rice. I think Rashee Rice will be that. I think he will be the best rookie wide receiver in Andy Reid's coaching career. I think you know what? Because I think he's going to have to be. I think we're in a situation right now where he's going to have to be. This is why I wanted D-Hop here, because I've said it numerous times in the show. I wanted D-Hop to be that mentor for him because he's a guy, he's molded his game around it, and he came out and publicly said that. I think it made way too much sense, but that's not a scenario we're going to get now. So I think Rashee Rice is going to kind of have to be kicked out of the nest a little earlier than we probably wanted him to. So I think he's going to have to learn to fly a little quicker than we thought. And he could be one of those guys, man, that's just that's ready to go. But I do think Kadarius Toney has it. I said that last year when we got him. I believed in him. I still do. If he can stay healthy, he's going to put up ridiculous numbers this year. So I am excited about this offense, this wide receiver room anyways. Travis Kelce is going to do what he does year in, year out. There's no real defending Travis Kelce. He finds the open spots, and the connection with Patrick Mahomes is maybe the most unique we've ever seen as far as a duo goes, especially between a tight end and a quarterback. But yeah, man, as much as we wanted D-Hop here, and as much as we've talked about the uncertainty of this wide receiver room, I will say I'm very excited about the young, untapped potential in this wide receiver room.
I'm going to be honest with you. The excitement level for me is much lower than yours, and my nervousness level is much higher than yours. I think that ours probably flips a little bit because I look at you know me, Trevor. I'm a numbers guy.
Yeah.
I look at this and Kadarius Toney, MVS, Sky Moore, JUSTYN Watson, and Richie James, all guys that are perceived to probably make the roster, combined have played 17 NFL seasons.
I do believe Richie James is more of a special teams guy. I think that's why I think he's going to be in like that punt return.
I know Bobby Stroop's big on him. He says he's a dog and all that stuff. I get it.
Yeah.
I need to see it to believe it.
He's a veteran at this point.
He's a very limited player offensively. Like we have not seen a lot of. There's a reason for that. Like teams like the 49ers that he was recently on.
I like that he's come from those systems though.
Yes, but I'm saying that on teams like that you should be able to shine because those teams have also lacked wide receivers. And for you not to play at a high level, like last year was his best season. He had a little over 500 yards and like 4 touchdowns.
Yeah,
good.
I'm not expecting a lot of him as a receiver. I'm really not.
Yeah. So these 5 names are, like I said, guys that are probably going to make the team. They have 17 combined seasons in the NFL. Seasons with 60 plus receptions.
Yeah.
0.
Yeah.
Seasons with 700 plus yards. 0. Seasons with 7 plus touchdowns. 0. And you bring up Travis Kelce. We talk Travis Kelce because we just assume that this dude's just going to keep rolling every single year, which I presume he will this year for sure. But he will be 34 in October, as I continue to tell you guys. And this is a violent sport, and dudes age quickly. And most all-time great tight ends by 34 years old are done. Tony Gonzalez, Jason Witten, and Antonio Gates are the exception.
Yeah.
Travis Kelce will probably be as well, but it's just unfair to continue to put so much on him because to Tony Gonzalez's credit, to Jason Witten's credit, they always had a ton of great wide receivers around them to take some of that pressure off of them. Antonio Gates sometimes did as well, but the point is that if Travis Kelce, and this is why I keep talking about, I'm looking at this from a big picture standpoint, I want Travis Kelce to continue to play at a high level for as long as he can. And yes, 2023 is going to have so much more on him based upon the guys that we're seeing right now. I think that could potentially cut his career a little shorter because of how much is going to be on him, how many more targets, how many hits he's going to take. I know he's good at avoiding big tackles, big hits, but we even saw last season guys like Derwin James literally doing WWE moves on him based upon plays that he's going to have to take on. No. Those things do catch up to you. And if, in my opinion, because we expect Patrick Mahomes to be an offensive or a statistic juggernaut every single year. With these numbers that I just presented to you guys, if he still manages to throw for 5,000 plus yards and 40 plus touchdowns in 2023, I mean, that's about as easy of a unanimous MVP as I've ever seen. And the thing that makes me nervous above all, Trevor, just from a singular perspective, is the fact that the Chiefs' projected wide receiver 1 is Kadarius Toney.
Yeah.
He has 55 career receptions for 591 career yards and 2 career touchdowns in 19 games. That's very terrifying.
Yeah.
Because Juju Smith-Schuster coming here last year, although had a season before that was injured, we've seen him have multiple 1,000-yard seasons and another 900-yard season, and has had 7 touchdowns multiple times in his career with an aging Ben Roethlisberger. That's why I was so much more comfortable with that scenario. Now he's gone. And now people are just assuming that we're just going to have another guy just become Juju Smith-Schuster in this offense. Yes, Patrick Mahomes is great enough to have a guy like that, but to your point, Trevor, if Kadarius Toney could stay healthy, he could be that guy. I
think everyone's penciling him in as the wide receiver one, but I think the most hype, which is crazy, and it is irrational to put this much hype on two guys that have never played real NFL time, which is Justin Ross and Rashee Rice.
Well, I'm going to get to Justin in a second.
Yeah, so the hype is crazy between these guys.
But you and I both have agreed, and a lot of people, if they're truthful out there, would agree that 2022, the Chiefs had one of the thinnest wide receiver rooms in the league. Mm-hmm. Now you subtract your best veteran receiver, and you don't add anything but a rookie second rounder, and the potential of Justin Ross maybe adding. That's even thinner to me. And if you thought Patrick had to put on the magic last season, wait until you see what he's going to be asked of in 2023.
All right.
There's going to be even more asked of Patrick Mahomes. I know his offensive line is going to probably still be very solid, especially in the running of the guard and center positions.
Yeah.
Tackle Juwan Taylor will probably take care of business on the right side. Left tackle makes me very nervous.
Right.
But Patrick Mahomes is going to have to take on even more so this year than he had even in 2022, and we saw how heroic that run was. Which is why I'm also going to say that the remaining cap space the Chiefs ultimately get with the Chris Jones extension now won't go to a star receiver like DeAndre Hopkins. I think they need to add as much veteran depth at edge, defensive tackle, and DB.
I think that's what's going to happen.
This team, they're going to need to make sure that they have as close to a top-tier defense as possible this year, because if they have a top 5-10 defense this season, Trevor, it may not really matter how thin their wide receiver room is, because Patrick Mahomes is good enough to make that work, just enough to have an elite defense help you lead the way, because that's the only way I see this team repeating as Super Bowl champions, is if they have a top 10 defense and they help Patrick Mahomes out a lot more than they even did last year, because I know that defense last year had a lot of sacks and they made some big situational plays, but they were 16th overall in defense last year. They were very average overall.
Yeah.
Now you have more of a galvanized defense with more talent, and these young guys from last year are no longer rookies. They had a Super Bowl run. They have Super Bowl rings now. I think this defense is going to be more galvanized this year, which is going to be the saving grace to the inept wide receiver room I think the Chiefs currently have. But that's why I feel some solace with this team as currently constructed, because I think that the thing about rookie wide receivers that makes me nervous, Trevor, because like I said, the defense needs to be so great that it wouldn't matter what Rashee Rice and guys like that do, because when I talk about Andy Reid's offense and rookie wide receivers not really contributing at all, just look at last year's Sky Moore. I mean, I was big on Sky Moore. I still am.
Yeah.
He had 250 yards last year on 22 receptions, 0 touchdowns. Had a touchdown in the Super Bowl.
Didn't score till the
But
Super
it was
Bowl.
like the easiest play of all time.
Yeah.
No, not taken away from him, but it was a great call.
Something to build on.
Yes, it was an awesome call, and the field's so slick. Let's be real. Rookie wide receiver averages in Andy Reid's offense since 2013 is 15 receptions, 191 yards, and 1 touchdown. In other words, I'm not expecting Rashee Rice to be anything this season, but it would be awesome if he was. It would be great.
It could happen.
I'm expecting him to be a 2024, 2025, 2026 kind of guy. That's who I'm looking him to be. Like in those seasons, he's going to start climbing the ladder really quick. I look at this year as being a development year for Rashee Rice.
I think he could be a 2023, 2024, 2025, 2026, 2027 kind of guy. I think that's possible too.
I would love that. Add another year to that. I would love that.
Yeah, man.
But in regards to a guy that, man, so many people. You want to talk about pressure, Trevor? Let's talk about pressure.
Pressure.
A couple days ago, I had tweeted out something because for the longest time since I can. I mean, it feels like it's been like 5 years now, but it's only been about a year or so. I have been hearing people, and our guy Shaggy Shane Williams, I love him to death, has been like the pioneer of this fan club. That JUSTYN Ross is going to be something special in this offense.
Yeah.
Just when he gets his opportunity, you're going to see him shine. I've heard it all. I've heard it all. And we're hearing about JUSTYN Ross is going to be reporting to camp soon. He's not reporting with the rookies because he's not technically a rookie, and let's not worry about that and all these other things. He's finally healthy. So I decided to post a tweet a couple days ago that said JUSTYN Ross has as much pressure on him as any player currently on the Chiefs roster. Fans have been hyping him up for over a year now. If he makes the roster, no slow start for the kid. They're going to expect a star. I wish him the best of luck. And then we have somebody who's absolutely obsessed with my tweets, Carrington Harrison from 610 Sports Radio, big crush on me, decided to tweet out, LOL, what do you be talking about, bro? Great English, by the way. What do you be talking about, bro? basically trying to make it sound as if what I'm saying about Justyn Ross and the expectations and the pressure that are on him are non-existent, as if no one's expecting him to become anything special. Really quick, Trevor, if it's cool with you, man, I'm going to play a couple clips from some pretty important people.
Patrick Mahomes' dad recently gave some very high praise to wide receiver Justyn Ross, who's been working out with Mahomes at his new house that includes half a football field.
Patrick has a little 50-yard field on the property, and it's amazing and beautiful, but he's been having the guys out there, and they're running routes and stuff, and these guys are looking very, very impressive. I'm just going to give you a name to look out for is Justyn Ross. He's been putting in work coming back from the injury before the season started, but him...
Patrick Mahomes...
This is also Peter Schrager, just from a couple months ago on his show about the top 5 breakout wide receivers of 2023 and his expectations.
Number 5 is Justyn Ross. I've got practice footage of number 8, Justyn Ross, making a play. Ross was an undrafted free agent out of the University of Clemson a couple years ago, had the injury, and yet everyone has spoken about Justyn Ross for 2 years in Kansas City circles. Like, just wait till we get Ross on the field. This is the one play you saw last week, and it was from the Chiefs account, and you're like, he's coming. It's Justyn Ross time. And you look at this roster right now at the wide receiver position. We know they lost Juju, they lost Hardman, and years prior they've lost other players. Who's going to step up, right? Valdez-Scantling was the guy against the Bengals, had that huge game. Tony in the Super Bowl was awesome. Watson, we know, has been... Here's a second-round pick, Rice. You got more last year. Richie James from the Giants. Justyn Ross in yellow might be a guy to watch.
Also, I wanted to put this out here. These are from just a couple excerpts, a couple of clips that have come out recently. This is actually a couple, like 247 Sports and a couple of articles. Chiefs fans can't contain hype about Justyn Ross playing with Patrick Mahomes next season. Quote, he's going to be a problem. Another article, Patrick Mahomes on Justyn Ross. Quote, I can only imagine how good he's going to be. We have some tweets here from fans. Fans are actually content creators as well. Quote, Ross is ready to light up the league with Mahomes as his quarterback. Brad Henson Productions. Another video of Patrick Mahomes and Justyn Ross training. Fire emoji. Video shot by Preston Smith Photography. RJB the third. I think everyone and their mothers know Justyn Ross is a wide receiver 1 caliber player when healthy. Isaiah Harrow 19 on Twitter. Justyn Ross is the main reason Casey isn't going out to find a wide receiver 1. People forget, but he was better than Higgins throughout college. Oh, and then there's Carrington Harrison's tweet from June 14th of this year. Maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like there's more buzz and hype around Justyn Ross than Sky Moore heading into this season, which makes very little sense to me. So in Carrington's defense, he didn't really buy the hype or believe the hype in comparison to Sky Moore and Justyn Ross, but he himself is acknowledging the fact that the hype is there.
So is that what you be talking about, bro?
That's what I be talking about, Trevor. So LOL, I be talking about what you yourself just a month ago put out there. That there are a lot of fans, and trust me when I say in my mentions and on our Facebook group, by the thousands, and I'm not over-exaggerating here, by the thousands that are letting me know, the guy that doesn't even have Justyn Ross making this roster, that I'm insane because this guy is going to be something special in this league.
You should do a sports show.
I should do a podcast or something. We should do a live stream about this stuff, Trevor. But it's just funny to me because I get it because, you know, Trevor, if we spent our time on this show doing like cake power rankings and gave out trivia and horrible dating advice, I probably would miss the pulse of what Chiefs fans are talking about as well. But fortunately for us here at the Spoken Podcast, we do pay attention to what you guys are saying because it's important to us. We don't collect a check just from some radio show, then we just go out and try to fill air.
So Justyn
We're actually
Ross
out here trying to talk about this. So Justyn Ross is a guy that a lot of you guys believe is going to become something special. And you know what? I'm here for it. Just like Trevor said about Rashee Rice, I'm here for it. Yep. I want these guys to succeed. I want these guys to be great. But Justyn Ross is somebody that I find very particular and special to talk about, which is why I singled him out in that tweet. Because he's a guy that hasn't played football in 2 years. He's a guy that has already dealt with a lot of chronic injuries to his ankles, to his back, things that guys don't usually come back from. And he's in his early 20s. You don't want to be dealing with injuries like that in an early part of your life because those won't go away. And that has been my biggest concern. Does this guy have talent, good enough talent to make it at the pro level? I think so. But I haven't seen him play football since 2021 when he had Trevor Lawrence as his quarterback. Trevor Lawrence is 2 years into his NFL career, about to go into year 3. So this is the thing I'm trying to get you guys to understand here is that We've put so much pressure and expectation on this guy. We can't sit here and pretend that once he walks on the field, let's say he makes the 53-man, Trevor. Let's say it's week 1.
Oh, he will.
And he's getting a snap. Let's say he's getting a snap in a third quarter. Yeah. You're going to tell me right now that fans are sitting there going, okay, here we go. Let's see what he's got. You're going to tell me right now you guys are sitting here expecting him to put up 219 yards this season?
Hey, we got Chief concerns in the comments saying he's the future.
If he is,
All
I
in.
welcome it. My point,
Hell
though,
yeah.
is that is what you can't sit here and say he's the future. And I know where Chief concern is coming from, so I'm not coming at them. I'm saying that other people are saying that he is the future. He is a stud. He is a star.
Yeah.
If he is, you can't sit here and also say on the other hand, well, you don't got pressure coming into this season. There's no pressure on him. You're literally saying it. You're putting it out there right now. If it was Albert Wilson in 2015, that undrafted guy out of Akron who nobody knew, and by the way, I was the first one out of training camp to say he was going to be something.
Yep.
If he was him and no one was expecting anything from him, that is why that game in Week 17 with Patrick Mahomes meant so much. Because Albert Wilson did nothing in his career before that. No one knew Albert Wilson, and then Patrick Mahomes got him paid on that one game when he had like 11 receptions for like 140 yards and a touch, or not a touchdown, but he had like 140 yards. He killed it. No one knew, and he was a nobody. And then all of a sudden he became this guy. Justyn Ross, before even playing on the field, has been a talking point in Kansas City for 16 months.
Yep.
So we can't sit here and pretend that this guy doesn't have a myriad of pressure on him. Because he does. Outside of Kadarius Toney, there is not a single receiver on this team that has more pressure on him. And Kadarius Toney is supposed to be wide receiver 1. So think about the comparison that Justyn Ross has here. C-Dot himself is saying that he sees more buzz and more hype around Justyn Ross than Sky Moore, the guy that Chiefs just drafted in the second round a year ago. So we can't sit here and pretend one thing is in existence and the other is not when they correlate. Trevor, your thoughts on Justyn Ross?
I mean, another exciting prospect that has proven nothing yet has caught 0 catches in the NFL so far, has been nothing but an injury-riddled guy in the last couple of years. I mean, everything changes when you're actually in the game, and the game is you're playing real NFL snaps. There's nothing but this is all this is this is fan hype. All it is. That's all it is right now. Could he go out there and prove it? Could he go out there and become that guy? Of course. But I mean, I'm not hitching I'm not hitching myself to that any kind of wagon that has no track record. You know what I mean? College is one thing. All that goes out the window when you enter the pros, man. You could be better than T. Higgins all you want, but T. Higgins has been an absolute stud in the NFL and has remained healthy and is on one of the best offenses and contributes to one of the best offenses in the league. We could talk about him being better than T. Higgins in college all we want. But T. Higgins is actually playing in the NFL. Justyn Ross has yet to do so. Right, and we have all the faith in Patrick Mahomes to develop these guys and get the best out of these guys, like the aforementioned Albert Wilson. Which, I mean, you compare Albert Wilson's profile to Justyn Ross, it's night and day. Justyn Ross has the prototypical wide receiver 1, elite upside build for what you want in a pro wide receiver, 100%. And that's why the hype is so real. If he was 5'2" and ran a 4.6, no one would be talking about this guy. But I do believe the Chiefs have held on to him and kept him in the shadows for a reason, because if this dude does find a way to remain healthy and it can contribute his skill set, which he does have an absolute sick skill set that could be very, very valuable in this offense. 100%. I believe the upside is there, and I believe the ceiling doesn't exist for him right now. There is a ceiling that is not there. I think the kid has untapped potential, and he's like I said, he's a prototypical guy that you want. In this offense, with his size, speed, catches ability, catch radius, and his route running ability, the guy, his film speaks for itself. But that's all it is right now, is film. Right? We needed this guy to get on the field and actually play some real snaps and play some real NFL football, because everything changes. Everyone's got a plan to get punched in the mouth. Right. To quote Mike Tyson. So I just got to see it. I mean, I'm buying the hype as well. I think he's got to make this roster first, like you keep saying. But I would like to put a poll out there and see what the expectations, because I know the hype is real, but I would love to see, like, if we put like a Twitter poll out there or something to see like what people actually think his numbers would be if he even makes I'm pretty certain he's going to make this roster, because we do have a lot of bodies in this wide receiver room. There's going to be a lot of competition at camp and so on and so forth. But I don't see him as a special teams guy. He's not a special teams guy. He's a true wide receiver. I don't see us using him as anything in special teams really, but. If he does make this roster, I'm really interested to see like what people think his numbers could possibly be in comparison to MVS and Sky Moore, where he's going to fit in, what his role is going to be, There's a lot of uncertainty with this kid. I actually feel much better about Sky Moore taking the next step and Kadarius Toney being the number one before I even get to Justin Ross, if I'm being honest.
I like that. And we're gonna post that poll in just a second because of the fact that this is one of the more interesting conversations to be had this year and this is actually a good thing because of the fact that the Chiefs have everything. Because we know that wide receiver falls down the line of value for a team like the Chiefs.
Yeah.
You have a quarterback that can carry things, but like we've talked about, this is a blessing in disguise potentially because the defense can end up being such an important figurehead for the Chiefs winning another Super Bowl because we know that they didn't play a great game in the Super Bowl, but they made one key play, Nick Bolton doing that scoop and score, and that changed the trajectory of the game. The Chiefs would have lost the Super Bowl otherwise. They give up 35 points is what I'm saying. I think this defense this year is going to be better because the guys they relied on last year aren't going to be rookies this year that they're going to rely on again this year. And I think that guys like Chamari Connor and B.J. Thompson and FAU and guys like that are going to be guys that are going to be they're going to work their way into this defense. George Karlaftis takes another step. Yeah. Chris Jones obviously being who he is.
That's my thing, dude. Like everyone's talking about the wide receiver, and I get it. That's the sexy thing to talk about right now because the DeAndre Hopkins possibility that almost happened and blah, blah, blah. And all these young up, but I'm stoked about this defense, man.
I am too, and we will definitely be talking about that because I think they will make their presence known, especially
Minahu, guys like that. I think they're going to pop off the screen.
Definitely Jeff and Tranquil and guys like that. The linebacker core maybe being one of the three best in the league. As good as the defense is going to be, and as much as I'm hyped up about this season, I will tell you my one big fear about this year going into this season. I know you guys get sick of me making the comparisons between Patrick Mahomes and LeBron James, but I think they're very paralleled in how they're going to be viewed in their careers because LeBron is compared to MJ, who's got more rings, and people will never move off of MJ because he was a nostalgic figure. And then Tom Brady to Patrick Mahomes, he's got the 7 rings, and no one wants to move off Tom Brady. So there's always that comparison. My fear when it comes to the wide receiver room, though, is when we get I think that obviously Patrick Mahomes can lead a wide receiver room like this to the Super Bowl. Just like
why would we doubt that?
Just like LeBron could lead the 2007, 2015, and 2018 Cavs, who had tons of inefficiencies, to the finals.
Sure.
But then you saw what happened in those finals. They went up against a better overall team, or the matchup just wasn't there.
Dynastic Spurs.
Yeah, and Patrick Mahomes, LeBron James was masterful, but what happened? It didn't really matter. And that's we saw that in 2020 for Patrick Mahomes. The Chiefs, he still carried them, even though they were losing offensive linemen like every single week. Still carrying them to the Super Bowl. They lost one real game all season. Get to the Super Bowl, and what happens? The Buccaneers dominate the Chiefs because the matchup was horrific for the Chiefs. That front seven for the Buccaneers just obliterated that makeshift offensive line for the Chiefs. Didn't matter how great Patrick Mahomes was. I mean, Patrick Mahomes was so magical in that game, we have a cool little pose of him throwing an incompletion. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's how he was masterful, but the numbers don't bear it.
Yeah.
The end result didn't bear it because the Chiefs got dominated because of their offensive line. So that is my fear going into this season is the Chiefs are a Super Bowl worthy team. Patrick Mahomes is going to lead this team as far as he can, but if they get to the Super Bowl and there's a team out there that has lockdown corners, lockdown safeties, a team that's built to take down wide receivers that aren't great and create separation on a normal basis, that is a concern. That is something I'm legitimately concerned about. And again, that is why the defense is going to have to play its best this year because you have look, I'd be willing to sacrifice 10 to 15 sacks from last year if it meant the Chiefs can move up 6 to 7 spots in total defense. If they could have went from 16th to 10th, they would have beaten the Eagles by double digits because sacks weren't really what made that game what it was. The Chiefs had 2, and one of them was because he ran out of bounds behind the line of scrimmage. I think Colin Saunders pushed him out of bounds.
Yeah.
So sacks didn't determine that game. It was a 38-35 game. If the Chiefs had a defense that ranked 6 spots lower, I would imagine that game would have been like a 38-28.
We just made one less mistake.
Exactly. That's my whole point. So the Chiefs defense is going to have to step it up. In year 2 with Joe Colin, year 5 with Steve Spagnuolo, I really like what this defense is going to present. Young, athletic, experienced also. That's another thing that's very unique about this defense is it's both young and extremely experienced. These guys, like I said, these rookies from last year had Super Bowl experience from the jump, man.
Yeah.
And the expectations are much higher, so they're going to have to be that much more alert. But yeah, that's where I stand on this whole Justin Ross thing, and I do want to transition now. I don't know if we have any comments right now in the chats.
Well, we do have one that we have a couple.
Let's get to speak it now because I've dominated the conversation long enough.
We don't have too many questions, but we do have some comments. We did have one question here from our guy Ruben. He says, "Is there any other wide receivers out there we could get?"
Yeah, I mean, there's some veterans out there, but
Not a lot, man.
For me, the Chiefs are only going to add a wide receiver now if one or two things happen.
Yeah.
If somebody goes down with an injury in preseason, or Chiefs just don't feel like they have enough, and they finally need to go get a chicken spot fill. Like if JUSTYN Ross just isn't showing any signs, or Richie James is really, really struggling really bad. But even with that, it's like Remigio from Fresno State, this young kid who Patrick Mahomes has already fallen in love with, like he could step in. So I don't really think there's any guy out there right now. I know Julio Jones is available. I know there's a couple other names out there that I'm missing right now that are in their 30s.
I mean, Cole Beasley just got signed. He's off the market.
I'm not touching Cole Beasley.
I know. I'm just saying, like, the names that I can think of that are still out there, that were out there floating around that people have given chances to, but
I don't see anybody out there that, because I think if the Chiefs are going to bring somebody in, it has to be somebody that can actually move the needle.
Yeah.
I just don't see anybody out there that's going to really change anything for the Chiefs now.
Yeah. Let's see. We have a quote here from Chief Concerns. It says, "Our new offensive tackles working out is more of a concern than the wide receiver 5. LOL. Too many fans out here ball watching." Couldn't agree more. We're talking about wide receivers and who's going to make it into this room when we got this tackle situation on our hands that's untrustworthy.
And they're 100% correct about this, but here's the reason why the wide receiver room has been more of a talking point than the offensive line. Because there's nothing you can do about the tackle position. They literally can't change that. The Chiefs made their bed months ago with the offensive line. They let Orlando Brown Jr. walk. They signed Juwan Taylor to a left tackle contract and are now moving him back to right tackle, and have Donovan Smith, who is a washed left tackle, now playing left tackle. Right. And you didn't take an offensive lineman until the third round in Wanye Morris. So there's really nothing to discuss. He's right. Like, Chief Concerns is 100% correct about that. I'm much more concerned about the left tackle position than I am about wide receiver. Because I care more about Patrick Mahomes' protection than I do who he's throwing the ball to, because I think he can make things do overall, as opposed to having to run for his life every single damn game.
Right.
But there's nothing we can do about that. You know what the Chiefs can do? Put out the best 6 guys at wide receiver and see what happens. That's why that's more of a discussion at this point. It's not that it's more of a worry or a concern, pun intended, with Chief Concerns, but it is a legitimate talking point because they can't budge. Their offensive line is solidified. Barring injury, we know who their starting 5 is at offensive line.
Right.
We do. We know.
Yeah, and then that's followed up by a question on the same topic by Tilly Train on YouTube. What does the depth chart look like at left tackle?
Yeah, so it's going to be very, very thin. Let me put it like that.
Yeah.
Let me actually pull it up right now, because it's a very surprising situation the Chiefs have there. Because I think, if I'm not mistaken, they have Juwan Taylor as the backup left tackle as well.
Right. We have a lot of versatile guys in this room, but left tackle, the solid left tackles in this offense in this room are.
Well, they actually moved it back.
Not a
Okay,
lot.
So Juwan Taylor's obviously at right tackle.
Okay.
Lucas Niang's his backup, and then Wanye Morris is third on the right tackle side. So it goes from Donovan Smith to Prince Tega Winogo.
Yeah, see, that is a concern, man. That is an absolute concern. That's what I'm saying. The depth. We're sitting here talking about the wide receivers, which is a concern as well. This is why I'm sold on the defense. This is why I think the Chiefs, the coaching staff, everyone's sold on this defense taking that next step more than just this offense, because there's a lot more questions offensively than there are defensively right now, which is weird to say in a Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid-led team, but looking a little grim on that protection side of things.
Yeah. And that's my whole point, is that we saw last year that the Chiefs, although fans didn't overall like Orlando Brown Jr., we saw that when it mattered in the postseason, things got taken care of. Now, we have no idea what Donovan Smith's even got left. And he's about 5 years older than Orlando Brown Jr. So you replace him with an older player who had a worse season, who has not been playing as good over the last couple of years, but he was cheaper. I think they only gave him like $3 million in total. And that's the other thing, Trevor, is you got to look at it. Like, outside of like Drew Tranquill, the signing of the offseason for the Chiefs was Donovan Smith. And according to like Albert Breer and other guys, I think it was even Jeremy Fowler said that the money they gave Donovan Smith was money they actually were having like saved over for DeAndre Hopkins. So in other words, if we're just going to put it in plain English, the Chiefs chose Donovan Smith over DeAndre Hopkins. I know the Chiefs were trying to trade for DeAndre Hopkins back in February.
Big money
They
difference
ended up
there,
paying
too,
Donovan Smith in March.
Yeah.
And yeah, so Let me put it like this. It better work out, man. Because if Donovan Smith struggles at left tackle, the Chiefs don't really have an answer other than convincing Juwan Taylor, hey, you don't really play left tackle at all. Now, congratulations, you get to play left tackle, and then they're going to move up Lucas Niang and right tackle.
Or moving Joe Tooney over, too.
Don't do that.
I know. That internal protection's at risk after that.
Light.
I'm just saying, we've done it already before. We know that we've done that before. And he obviously can play that position very well at a high level, but that's not ideal because then your internal protection struggles massively without a top-tier guard there. We don't have any more questions at the moment, but I did get some posts out there asking people to get some questions in. But I do have a question myself, though, about the whole Isaiah Pacheco situation that's been going on right now.
I was hoping people would ask about that.
Yeah. I was curious what your thoughts were on that. There's some speculation from the team looking like he might be put on the pup list leading into the season, but then he's coming out and making a statement about himself saying he's going to start week 1. Now there's going to be some conflicting information from the player himself and then from the team. Obviously, it really comes down to what the team decides to do and the coaching decides to do more than him and his personal decision. But how do we feel about that? Do we think he's going to be ready to start the season and start week 1?
Well, I don't. I think Pacheco's trying to go out there and put on a full display. We have to remember, though, the first week of practice, they don't have contact.
Right.
They don't have pads and none of that. And you notice he's been wearing the quarterback colors for the majority of practices.
Right.
He's been wearing the yellow jersey, which means you cannot touch this guy at all. This is becoming more of a growing worry than I think people wanted to lead on, because we had heard a couple months ago that he had the finger injury, he had the shoulder injury, the labrum injury, whatever, during the season. He had suffered those, and that's because this man runs so violently and takes such massive hits. It's bound to happen with him. He takes massive car accident type hits every single game. Which is why I've been telling people you got to enjoy this guy while you got him, because we don't know how long he's going to last. And it's probably not going to be for very long. But this is why I've been saying, Trevor, that I am anticipating that the doctor side of things, the medical side of things, they're going to win over this. Pacheco obviously wants to play week 1. This dude's a dog. Right. This guy loves playing football, and he wants to go out there and prove himself every single week, and I love that about this guy.
Love that kid, man.
What I will say, though, is I don't expect him to be a guy that the Chiefs are going to have out there full force in week 1. He might be able to suit up. He might be available, but I think my theory is going to play out where I think the Chiefs are going to ease him into the season, which is why I think ultimately the Chiefs kept Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Why guys like Generic Prince is going to make this team is because of the fact that they know
you got McKinnon
they're going to.
still.
Yeah, obviously McKinnon. But see, I don't. When it comes to Pacheco, McKinnon is a separate entity.
Sure.
Because they are literally they're yin yang.
back.
Yeah, he's a guy that's just going to catch the ball out of the backfield, do the chip blocks. He's not going to be a guy that's running the ball a bunch.
Well, he's a guy, we obviously proved that last year. We kind of save for that home stretch run.
Yeah, Jerick McKinnon is becoming an extension of the pass game.
Weapon. Yeah.
He's becoming an extension because when he's not catching the ball, he's usually protecting Patrick Mahomes.
He's going to get a lot of those. He's going to get a lot of those McColl type plays, the jet sweeps and in round.
100% anticipating that. So what I think is that yes, McKinnon's over here, Pacheco and these other 2 running backs are over here because McKinnon just his own special entity for this offense. So when I think they preserve Pacheco for the majority of the beginning of the season. I think by the bye week, he's going to have less than 100 rushes. You saw last year that he only had 170 total rushes.
Sure.
He only had 11 starts, so that kind of prohibits or keeps him from getting a ton more rushes.
That's a handful of weeks he didn't start,
I will say this, though. If Pacheco plays 12-plus games this season, he's going to get 1,000 yards.
For sure.
Everyone's been talking about that, whether that can happen or not in Andy Reid's offense. It can. You know the reason why? Because his rookie season last year, again, only in 11 starts. He played all 17 games, but limited for the majority of the beginning of the season until Clyde got hurt. He had 830 rushing yards.
Right.
He was averaging almost 5 yards per carry. So you give this man 1 to 2 more games. He only had 170 rushes. If you give him 200 rushes, this man's gonna get 170 more yards.
No doubt.
So I think yes, I think Pacheco is a 1,000-yard running back. But I want to say something. I'm not trying to dive off your question too much, but since you brought up Isaiah Pacheco, I want to bring this up too. This idea about running backs in today's NFL. I've been seeing a lot of people. It's craziness right now. What's happening?
It's a hot topic right
now. I think it's borderline disrespectful in some ways, and I'll get to that in a second. But what I think is the most disrespectful part of it is people using Isaiah Pacheco as the reason or justification as to why guys like Saquon Barkley aren't making money. Biggest reason why, for one, the most obvious part of it, Saquon Barkley is significantly better than Isaiah Pacheco. That's first of all. Second of all, how about we look at the bulk of the offense compared between the two guys? Okay, how about this? Saquon Barkley accounted for 28% of the Giants' offense last year. 28%. Almost 30. It was like almost 30% of the offense last year.
Yeah.
Isaiah Pacheco was less than 10.
I think there's some context missing there.
Okay,
though.
but here's the thing. People are saying, well, you saw the Chiefs just win a Super Bowl with a 7th-round rookie at the running back position. But are we going to sit here and pretend as if the Chiefs were the front line of why the Chiefs were in the Super Bowl, why they won the Super Bowl was because of Isaiah Pacheco and the running game? No. But if the Giants were to make the Super Bowl, what are the betting chances, Trevor? If the Giants were to make the Super Bowl, what do you think the biggest reason would be because of that? What do you think the biggest if the Giants were to make the Super Bowl?
Because of Saquon. Sure, but my context...
The value is different.
My context in that situation was because that's how that system is ran.
Right.
And that's a dying system, though.
I get it, but here's the thing.
Which is why the market is dying for running backs, because running-first offenses are not the wave right now. It's a pass-first offense.
But not everybody gets the opportunity to have a Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen,
sure.
Jalen Hurts. Not everybody gets that. That's why there's only 4 of those 32. 4 of 32 teams have elite quarterbacks right now, right? Okay, so if you look at teams like the 49ers, a prestigious team that's in the NFC Championship like every single year, right? They've had 0 great quarterbacks in that span. They've had a 7th-round rookie and Jimmy Garoppolo as their quarterbacks, right? They just spent 4 draft picks on Christian McCaffrey, an injury-prone running back who's in his now late 20s, and he's the most expensive running back in the league. Why would a team like that make a move like that? Because they know that for them, the running back position is valuable. This is why I push back on this and people talk about the Titans and how they're a underwhelming team. The Titans have had the number 1 seed multiple times over the last 5 years and have been to the AFC Championship.
Sure.
What's the biggest reason for that? Mike Vrabel and Derrick Henry.
Yeah, but none of the teams that have won the Super Bowl in the last handful of years have had a top-tier running back on their team.
And what are the teams that do win the Super Bowl? Teams that have Patrick Mahomes and Tom Brady.
Sure.
So not everybody gets those guys is what I'm saying. So you have to build your team how you can. Unless you can get a quarterback like that, you got to do what you got to do.
For the teams that overpay these running backs, they don't. I mean, name a team that's overpaid for running backs that's out there just consistently winning Super Bowls or being a top-tier Super Bowl.
Again, winning the Super Bowl, I'm contextualizing. Winning the Super Bowl, you usually have to have that great quarterback now in today's NFL.
Sure.
But to get success, you don't have to because, look at the 49ers, look at the Titans. These teams are winning 10, 12, 13 games a year, getting deep into the playoffs with a running back with a run-first offense. I understand. I wouldn't want the team to be like that either, Trevor. I wouldn't want my offense to be like that either. Well, but if you look at the way that a lot of these teams are winning, the 49ers just went and got McCaffrey this last year, got to the NFC Championship. Do you think they do that without
49ers to me are different than the Titans. The Titans are a team that perennially no one believes in. Everyone thinks they're going to make the playoffs, but no one ever believes the Titans are going to do anything in the postseason because they don't. And the 49ers, their system is entirely different than the Niners. They have a rotation of bodies. They don't have until now they got McCaffrey. Obviously, they went and got him. And he's an absolutely valuable guy, but they didn't win still. I know they lost their quarterback. I know the quarterback situation matters the most here, but the Niners do things differently. They have like a rotation of different bodies and different backs. They haven't really had that big-name guy until they went and got McCaffrey. So these teams, I don't know, man. I think the market demands what it is. I think it's supply and demand, and I think the devaluation of the running back position is warranted in my mind because of teams finding guys that that don't have to be the bigger name or from coming from the biggest school, and they can go contribute and just do the simple things and work around the passing game around those guys. I mean, look, we see Dalvin Cook still a free agent. These guys. I don't know, man. I think that's just the new wave of the NFL. I think there's going to be very rarely are there going to be more teams that have that one true bell cow back. I think that's dying. So if they're not having a guy that's going to have 300 carries in a season, why are you paying him all that money? I think it makes a lot of sense. Honestly, I think as a business move, I think it makes a lot of sense to why the value in the market is so low on running backs right now because it's not really worth the investment. And it hasn't paid off for most teams that have invested that kind of money. We're talking about how great Derrick Henry is, but he's not yet led them to an AFC Championship or a Super Bowl.
Okay, but look at it like this. So I just did it. Which team? This is according to StatMuse.com. Which teams have the most playoff wins since 2019? Obviously, the Chiefs have the most. We know this. They have 10. Second, San Francisco with 6. Okay, that's since 2019. You know who's fifth in the rankings? The Tennessee Titans.
Yeah, but we got to understand too. Those teams are not just run first teams. They also have had the Titans had A.J. Brown, who was an elite receiver. The 49ers have had guys like Deebo Samuels. George Kittle is one of the best tight ends in the league. It's not like they have bums that aren't leading the way in the offensive game. And both those teams have had top tier defenses all those years. Okay, but, it's not just the running back.
We're going to be honest though. The Titans were a They're led by who?
Offensively,
Derrick
but have they been a high scoring offense because of that? No,
not at all.
Those are more defensive led
throwback
teams.
Team. I'm just
Sure.
saying that I think there's a myth
that wins playoff games,
Yes,
but that doesn't win championships nowadays. Though.
I agree. Again, I'm not sat here and say the Titans should be winning Super Bowls. I'm not saying again the Chiefs beat them in the AFC.
Derrick Henry's an outlier. Derrick Henry is unreal.
Ironically, the Chiefs beat the Titans in the AFC Championship and then go and beat the 49ers in the Super Bowl.
Right.
So I agree with what you're saying. I'm saying that it's not realistic for people to be like, all right, just go get a Patrick Mahomes. Just go get, get a Tom Brady.
No.
Just go get a guy like that. No, sometimes you have to build your roster on an average quarterback and then bolster your run game and see what you can do.
But I do think it is best nowadays to go to spend a little less on the running back position and find more diamond in the rough guys and then pay up for wide receivers and try to find your quarterback. I think that's the best way to do it. And I think that's why the value of the running back is dropped because more teams are trying to do that. More teams are trying to get the sexy wide receivers. They're trying to get the Justin Jeffersons. That's why they're letting Dalvin Cook walk and going with the guy like Madison, who has been the backup, who's damn near just as good as Dalvin Cook, if we're being honest. You can't tell who's on the field at times. So I'm on the wave. I think it's the best move for teams business-wise. I still love running backs. I think that guys like Saquon are a diamond dozen kind of guy. I think they're very valuable to their teams. Obviously, in the systems that they're in, Saquon's been that system because they're quarterback. It's a run-first offense. It's a mobile quarterback situation. Not a very good thrower of the football. But those teams in the '80s would have been dominant. Guys like Derrick Henry have been on this Titans team. These teams would have been super dominant in the '80s, but if you got high-flying offenses you're going against, you got to pace teams and keep up with the Chiefs scoring and other teams like that are scoring bunches of points like that. It's hard to keep up with that, man. That's why I think the devaluation is warranted, and it sucks, man. But it's the nature of the beast. We see fluctuations. Maybe in the next 10 years, the running back will inflate a little bit, and the guys will. I still think guys are going to get their money regardless. But I think running backs are going to have more of a higher value if they want to get that big-time money. They got to be elite at catching the ball now.
It's frustrating. I think it's frustrating for guys like Saquon Barkley because not only does he mean so much to the Giants, but he's also a dual threat.
He's an incredible catcher.
He's not, no offense to Derrick Henry. I love me some Derrick John Henry.
Right.
I'm saying Saquon is a much more versatile style of running back.
In his case, especially being on a team that hasn't done shit, and he's been the only bright side of Austin Eckler.
But see, Austin Eckler's fucked because he's on a team that has a top 10 quarterback.
Right.
So he's never going to get paid.
I mean, honest, I think he should understand
I agree. Dude, he caught like 75 passes last year.
Right.
Justin Herbert loved throwing to Austin Eckler. And more so because Keenan Allen's hurt a lot, Mike Williams hurt a lot.
Yeah.
But Austin
He's
Eckler's
incredible,
28
dude.
years
and
old.
especially where he wasn't a high draft pick.
I know.
You know what I mean? He came out of Buffalo, I think.
Something like that.
Yeah.
I think Colorado.
Or Colorado. Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, it sucks, man. I don't like seeing arguably the most valued position in offensive outside of the quarterback. Running back for years has been the most valuable and high paid, one of the highest paid positions in the league. Now it's dropping like crazy, and there's only a few outliers that are getting their bag. But I think it's a call to running backs to really, really be that double threat kind of guy that can really catch the ball at a high level now too. I think you're gonna have to be that if you want to. But also, offenses are transitioning to 2-3 running back backfields. Right. Guys have different positions, guys have different roles, and that's going to deteriorate. The chance for a guy to be that all-around back that's on the field all the time.
Yeah.
That's really going away. So I think once that goes away and your responsibilities drop, so does your money, unfortunately.
At the same time, we've seen Derrick Henry get paid. We've seen Christian McCaffrey get paid.
But Derrick Henry's on the field all the time.
Right.
He's a bell cow. Saquon is too.
Saquon wasn't an injury-prone player because he's been hurt a lot.
McCaffrey too.
What's funny is McCaffrey still got paid.
Right.
Like it's a very what I'm saying is from a running back's perspective in today's NFL, it's very confusing because you see some of these guys make money, and then Saquon's getting offered like 10, 11 million a year. He's like, hold on, you guys know I'm more valuable,
especially in that market and that team where he's been the guy for that team. You pay those kind of guys.
It'd be one thing if they had a Justin Jefferson,
yeah,
or if they had a Justin Herbert,
or an elite, or
Saquon doesn't really have the ground to stand on. But when you have Daniel Jones, who just got paid $40+ million,
and when you have an elite quarterback, look what Joe Mixon just did for the Bengals. He just took a massive pay cut to stay a part of it. I'm not saying every guy needs to do that. Not everybody's going to be that humble and understand
Joe already
this.
Make some money though?
He has.
Yeah.
Not a lot of money, not a ton, but I mean.
Well, is this his first contract extension?
I think it's his second.
Okay, because I thought his first real contract he made some money.
But that was before Joe. Joe Burrow, I believe. So I think him,
wrong,
and that doesn't help this market for the running backs. Joe Mixon taking that's going to piss the other running backs off.
Miles
trying to
Sanders
get paid.
too, taking the money he made.
But Joe Mixon understands the situation. He's on a Super Bowl caliber team with an elite quarterback.
And running back, if I'm not mistaken, I was hearing that running back's the only position in an NFL roster that when you're franchise tag, that money's actually dropped.
Oof.
Because like every year it looks like quarterback and linebacker and defensive ends, offensive linemen, when they get franchise tagged, the percentages go up because everyone's making more money.
Because the market's going up.
Is actually going
the market's
down.
going down. Yeah.
So that's why Saquon. That's why I don't blame him for holding the ground and seeing what he can. Because the Giants without Saquon are fucked.
Dude,
they can't win. They're a 5-win team without him at best.
For sure. But that's the brutal reality of this business. It's a business at the end of the day, man. If the market doesn't demand what
you can't tell me the Giants aren't trying to win now because they just paid Daniel Jones a ridiculous amount of money.
Sure.
So they wouldn't pay him that at 26 years old unless they're trying to win now.
The money they gave Daniel Jones is insane.
Stupid.
It's insane. He's garbage, bro. Like
I love my guy Bink, but he said that he's a top 12 quarterback.
He is not good.
He's garbage.
You take his legs away. He is. I'm not. Obviously, you take his legs away. That's a big, massive part of his game. It's like saying you take Steve Young's legs away, you take Michael Vick's legs away. All these guys that were great with their legs, obviously. But Daniel Jones is not. He's not sniffing the top 10, top 12, top 13, 14 quarterbacks in this league. Maybe if he sneaks in the top 15, but. Like being a Giants fan, that's all I'm going to say.
We got some. It looks like we got some other.
So we got one question from our guy Ruben here. He says, "Do you think Ely makes the roster?"
That's a good question, man. I don't know.
Who knows, man? There's a lot of bodies that are going to move around this.
I mean, that position is kind of open, to the competition. This is what I love about. This is the one thing I like about training campus. I'll be honest with you guys. Like sometimes it just kind of gets annoying. Like it's like, okay, we know like what we're gonna get. I think the only way Jerry Neely makes the team is if he stuns everybody in special teams. If he's out there making good tackles, holds the ground down, that's the only way I see him making this roster. Because if you look at the rest of the running back room, like I was just talking about a few minutes ago, I think Deneric Prince is going to make this team because he's a lot like, I think he's Pacheco of this year, where he's going to stun a lot of people and he's going to be like, damn, this guy came out of literally nowhere. He's an undrafted player out of Fresno State.
Yeah.
He's going to make. I think he's going to make his mark. I think Clyde's going to make the team, barring any injury, and we already know that Pacheco and McKinnon are safe. So the only way. And I mean, the only way Ely makes this team is if he plays special teams. And I don't know. Dave Tobin is going to have to make that final choice. I know Andy Reid leaves that up to him when it comes to special teams and who he has on his rosters. But it's going to be kind of weird for me to say out loud that the Chiefs will carry 5 running backs. I don't think that's a chance in hell. No. So they'll carry 3 or 4 running backs, more than likely 4. And I think that's going to be Pacheco, McKinnon, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and Deneric Prince.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to make the roster. I think there's too many bodies right now, and the only way he really does, I think, if someone goes in the IR or if we reserve somebody to start the year, like you said, Pacheco starts the year on the PUP list or short-term IR or whatever we do. If he gets hurt in camp or something like that, or if somebody goes down, we need a body for special teams or a backup emergency running back position. That's it. But I mean, if we're talking about Ely, I mean we're in a good spot because I'm not too worried about it.
Well, I also know that there's going to be people that are going to be out there saying, well, he also can play wide receiver.
Yeah, he's a hybrid.
We just got on talking about how there's so many guys on this team right now that are chomping at the bit to make this roster.
Yeah, this wide receiver
Where would you rank Ely as a transferable wide receiver from running back who's 5'8"? Where are you going to put him in the echelon of wide receivers to make this roster? Because, again, unless Andy Reid shocks everybody, which would shock the hell out of me, I don't see him carrying 7 wide receivers, even though he doesn't have a fullback. I think he's going to give that extra piece to either tight end or offensive line to add to that depth because the Chiefs are going to love to run 12 and 13 personnel. I think he keeps it at 6 wide receiver, and I think he keeps it at 4 at running back, and the best guys make it, and I don't think Ely's going to be on either one.
Gotcha. We got a question from Ruby Soho. Who do you see taking a step forward out of our second year players?
I mean that's a pretty. I think it's gonna be several names.
There's a lot of second year guys coming in this year.
I will tell you one name that I think is going to take a massive step up that wasn't one of the more profound players of last year. I think it's gonna be Brian Cook. I'm big on Brian Cook, man. I think this guy. I don't know if he'll ever become like a Cam Chancellor. I don't know if he's ever going to become that. But he's got the build.
He's a playmaker.
He's a playmaker. He hits hard. He's like a linebacker playing safety.
Yeah.
So he weighs like 225 pounds
like
as
Brian
a safety.
Dawkins kind of.
Yeah, and he's way big. He's tall.
Yeah.
I think Cook's 6'1". So he's a big dude.
He can fly too.
Yeah, and I
not the
think,
best in coverage, but yeah.
I think he's going to be the guy that really shot. And now that Juan Thornhill is gone. I think he's going to get a lot more opportunities to play at a lot more at a premier level. I think he's going to be more of a starter role kind of guy, because I think we're all expecting Trent McDuffie to be a star. We're all expecting George Karlaftis to take that next step.
Yep.
Jalen Watson, Joshua Williams, who've already proven themselves as guys that you can trust. Brian Cook is still one of those fringe players. You don't really know. Another guy to look out for on the defensive side as well is Leo Chenal. I think Leo Chenal, because I've been telling you after they signed Drew Tranquill, I said the guy that is going to benefit off this the most is the guy you least think is going to benefit off it. It's going to be Leo Chenal, because everybody thinks, Tranquill's here to replace him. I think they're going to use him to motivate him, because Leo Chenal has the same type of versatility that Tranquill has, where he's able to protect pass and go after the quarterback. That was something he was very good at Wisconsin. I think that you're going to see Leo Chenal take a step up, because he knows in order to get playing time, he's going to have to outperform Drew Tranquill in a lot of ways, and I think that's another guy to watch for year 2 to step up as well, because Leo Chenal he started playing a lot, though, in the postseason. He was playing well.
I love to see him on the field, man.
Cook and Leo Chenal are the guys that I say you watch for, man, because I think those guys will take some big steps this year.
Mine might be obvious, but I think mine's going to be, I think he is going to be the most second-year guy of note, just off of pure volume and opportunity. I think it's Sky Moore. I think Sky Moore is going to be the guy that's going to really, really pop off the screen, because I think he's going to catch a lot of balls this year. I do.
I
I
hope
think
you're right.
I think he's going to catch a lot of balls this year in the flat. I think he's like the comparisons that have been coming out about him, even coming out of college, was the Golden Tate kind of build and the prototypical kind of slot receiver kind of guy. And he's very good with the ball in his hands as well. And he's incredible at beating guys off the when he's getting pressed man. He's incredible at that. So he's incredible at getting the release and breaking guys on the routes, creating space. I think that's going to be huge for Patrick Mahomes this year. I think there's going to be a lot of dump offs to him, a lot of letting him create. And the boy's got wheels too when the ball's in his hands. He can create. So I think there's going to be a lot of opportunity. I think just based off pure volume for him, I think he's really going to shine this year in this offense. I think he's going to have to if we want to have success in this offense. I know Kadarius Toney is going to be that guy that's going to have the big plays and probably will have the best numbers at the end of the year, most likely if he stays healthy. But I think second-year guys, that are going to absolutely pop off. I think Sky Moore's upside is huge this year for this offense, and like I said, I think he's going to need to be. Next question is from our guy Rhino on YouTube. Does Patrick Mahomes in his career get back-to-back Super Bowls and an undefeated season? Something Tom Brady couldn't get done in his illustrious career.
Rhino, I fucking hope so. I mean, that's the hope here. We're not making predictions here yet, but that is definitely the hope. I would say that Patrick Mahomes has a really good chance of doing it, not just because of the fact that he's got Andy Reid, he's got Travis Kelce, he's got I think going to be an elite defense this year. And potential, I will say that, I'll be fair here, potential at wide receiver, an awesome offensive line, at least in the front three. But more importantly, it's because of the fact he's getting better. I mean, Patrick Mahomes in 2022 was the best version we've seen of him. It may not have been his overall best statistical year when it comes to touchdowns. He had 9 fewer this last year than he had in 2018. But he also had a lot fewer pass attempts.
He also didn't have Tyreek Hill.
And he also didn't have Tyreek Hill and Sammy Watkins. So I think that Patrick Mahomes is maturing as a player. He's understood how to read defenses better. His body has become more equipped for the NFL, the rigors of the league, the rigors of the season. Bobby Stroop, tons of credit to him, and his passing coordinator, Christensen. Those guys have all done an incredible job of getting him mentally, physically, and emotionally prepared for the position that he has to play every single week. His family as well being there and being in his support. But I definitely think that the Chiefs have every capability of repeating this year, because as stacked as the AFC is, there's a reason why the Chiefs have gotten the reverence they've gotten as the favorites to win the AFC and win the Super Bowl, is because people know that the difference, the ultimate trump card in all of this is Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. They know that at the end of the day, you're going to have to take them down, because even when you beat them in the playoffs, it's a 3-point loss. It's a squeak out victory, or unless if their entire offensive line goes down with injuries, then you can blow them out in the Super Bowl. But there's always context to that. I think that the Chiefs have a great chance of getting back to the Super Bowl and winning the Super Bowl this year. It's just all about staying healthy and these guys that the Chiefs are going to rely on both sides of the ball. These young guys taking that next step and stepping up and becoming something that Patrick Mahomes can trust.
Which one do you think is more likely? Do you think Patrick Mahomes is the more likely to get back-to-back Super Bowls, like if he wins this year, or an undefeated season? I think the more likely one would be a back-to-back Super Bowl win, because going undefeated in the NFL is so hard, especially with the parity nowadays. I mean, winning 17 games undefeated is that's an incredible task with all the things that go on throughout the year. Injuries, losing guys, possibly Patrick Mahomes possibly being banged up, our defense letting us down in certain situations. You have so much has to go right for you to go undefeated. It's just an insane thing. So I think it'd be more likely for the Chiefs to have figure out a way to win back-to-back Super Bowls than going undefeated.
You want to hear my honest opinion on this?
Sure. That's why I asked you.
This is you're not gonna agree with me on this. I think it's more likely the Chiefs have a three-peat than going undefeated.
Yeah.
Biggest reason why?
It's so hard, man.
We love Andy Reid.
Yeah.
Okay, he's the best coach in the NFL, and I think when he's
if we're
done,
16-0, he's not gonna give a shit about that last week.
Yeah, you already knew, dude. You already knew. I made the case this last week that Andy Reid will go down as the greatest coach of all time.
Fuck this game.
But every single season, the Chiefs have that loss that's like
locked up.
Motherfucker. Like it just whether it's a great team or a good team, they usually don't lose to bad teams unless you're the fucking Colts.
Yeah.
But there's always that one loss. Like the Bengals lost last season, dude. Just so frustrating because the Chiefs had that game won. Yeah. There's always that one. The Chiefs, I don't think, as long as Andy Reid is their coach, they will ever go undefeated for a season. And to your point, that is insanely difficult. Dude, but we will all trade that if that means the Chiefs are going to go and win another Super Bowl. And again, I think it's more likely the Chiefs three-peat than to ever go undefeated for a regular season. Because like you said, it's so damn difficult. I know winning the Super Bowl is damn difficult, but I'm saying the Chiefs are a team that's more equipped to go on a three-peat than to win 17 straight games. True. I just don't think that's Andy Reid always has those one loss, at least one loss. You're like okay, for instance, 2020.
Yeah.
The Chiefs went 14-2 that season, right? They had that one loss against the Chargers that didn't count. It was the end of the year. They didn't play their starters.
That's the kind of one I'm talking about.
What's the one loss they lost during the regular season, Trevor, that actually counted? It was against the Raiders at home.
Oh, that game.
It was the most frustrating. We had the dipshit Raider Cody on our show the week before. Like, we had all this stuff. Like, the Chiefs were rolling. I think they were like 4-0 to start the season. Everything's looking good, but the Chiefs are missing like offensive linemen here and there. Mitchell Schwartz goes down in that game. That's his last game of his career. Yep. And the Chiefs find a way to lose a home game to the Raiders. There's always that one. If you look at every single season, now 2021 had like 3 of them, but every single season. Remember, was it 2014? The Chiefs lose at home in the home opener to the Tennessee Titans. Alex Smith threw like two interceptions. Like, there's always the game. Yep. And every single season, we're going to be sitting here with Von Booker this year, Trevor, you and I, chatting up Chiefs on Starcade Media's postgame show. We're going to be talking about it. There's going to be that one week where you and I are like, dude, I don't want to talk about this game.
Yeah.
I don't want to talk about it. The Colts game this last year, too. We can talk about that one. Frustrating as hell. There's always going to be that one. The Chiefs are not going undefeated.
Yeah, I agree with you. We have one more question here that I see so far from Ruby Soho again. If we start to struggle on special teams again, do you see Andy moving on from Tobe?
Yeah, actually I do. Because of the fact that this is how Andy does things, where he almost... And I know this is going to sound like I'm bashing Andy, but Andy likes to get a little ignorant sometimes with his coaching staff, where he almost is, because we know Andy is loyal to a fault. Like we saw in 2018, it was clear as day Bob Sutton should have been gone a year ago.
Yeah.
And 2017 should have been Bob Sutton's last year. But Andy stuck by him, and then 2018, Bob Sutton cost the Chiefs a champion at winning his AFC championship and getting to the Super Bowl. Bob Sutton was the reason. The Chiefs had a horrific defense. And that's on Andy Reid for holding on too long. Dave Tobe, this is maybe his most pivotal year as the Chiefs special teams coach. He's been here for a long time. He's been here since day one with Andy Reid.
I love Dave Tobe, man.
He's an awesome guy. He's people have always penciled him in as the next head coach in line and waiting for another team.
Right.
Never happened. I'm starting to see some of the threads come a little loose though on Dave Tobe. Like the special teams has always been known as a very disciplined core. It's always one of the best, if not the best in the league. We've seen there's been a gradual decline. And if it doesn't get better this year, and if it's more of the same or if it's worse, Andy Reid has to move on. I know it sucks. I know it's not fun, but what do we always talk about, Trevor? When you're a team that's trying to win Super Bowls every year, you have to make the uncomfortable decisions. You have to make things uncomfortable sometimes. And sometimes uncomfortability is great. And maybe you might move on and get a guy that's 40 years old that's motivated as hell. It could be the next John Harbaugh. You never know, man.
Right.
Like there's always those guys out there. So I don't want to see Andy Reid limit himself just because Dave Tobe's a lifelong friend and he's been here for 10 plus years. If it's time, it's time.
Yeah, I agree. Sometimes you just need a new voice too. It's just like, when you're going through things in your life, you need a move or get out of a certain town that you're in, or just some new scenery or things like that. And sometimes even if it's not better, sometimes just a new environment can kind of spark a new growth, right? So sometimes having a new voice and a new face in a locker room can do just that.
Right.
And we love Dave Tobe around here, man. He's had some great moments, some epic moments with these teams over the years that we've watched, but. But yeah, man, that's all we have as far as questions right now. So
awesome. And there was something I was going to bring up a minute ago in regards to I think it was the defense that I wanted to bring up, because I feel like the defense doesn't get enough talk because we were so fixated. It feels like for the last 2 months, all we've been talking about is the wide receiver room.
Yeah.
I think because of the fact that so we haven't really talked a lot of Chris Jones, which is something I think we should probably mention. So we know that Chris Jones has not made it to training camp just yet. We know that's something that Trevor and I are assuming he's going to be at training camp at some point. The contract extension is going to take place. I kind of wanted to get an idea of where people are at on that.
Yeah.
Are people starting to get worried? Because now we see the veterans are there. We saw Harrison Butker and a couple other veterans show up yesterday. Obviously, Patrick Mahomes has been there, so that's no worry. Travis Kelce and all those guys will be there. But if Chris Jones isn't there for the first week, do we change our tune? Because as much as I'm assuming that the extension is going to happen, Brett Veach is going to get the job done. I have not been worried about it at all. I won't lie. If it's going to be 7 to 10 days into training camp and Chris Jones still isn't there, I'm going to be like, okay, what are we waiting on? Yeah. What's the holdup here? Because then you start to ask the question: is it the Chiefs or is it Chris Jones, or are they really far apart? Because to the point in bringing it back up, if there was a chance the Chiefs were going to get DeAndre Hopkins, let's say DeAndre Hopkins hadn't signed with the Titans. The Chiefs still haven't figured this out with Chris Jones, which is the only way they were going to get D-Hop in the beginning. And I didn't think it was going to go this far, to be honest with you, Char. I thought it was going to be late June, early July when Chris Jones got his contract extension. It still hasn't happened. So, our guys at All Chiefed Up said on their show this week, it's one or two things. Either they're just, they never were in the sweepstakes of paying D-Hop what he was looking for, or the Chiefs are still so far away with contract language with Chris Jones, they told D-Hop, look, man, we're not even close to getting this done, so you might want to go sign somewhere else because we're not ready yet.
Yeah.
It's one of the two. And I think that more likely it was door number one, where the Chiefs are like, look, we're not going to pay you what the Titans are, so if you're looking for money, go to Tennessee. We'd love to have you here, but we're not going to pay you that. And we're going to get this. Yeah, we're going to get Chris Jones' deal done. Yeah. Eventually, so if you want to wait, go ahead, but it's going to get done eventually. I think it's door number one, but door number two, to me, has the key inside, and you can turn it and open that door. I think that is a possibility. I think door number one is the more realistic scenario right now.
We got Shane in the chat saying, he said, because he doesn't need to be there for the first 2 weeks, Chris Jones will get his extension somewhere between the first and the third preseason game. I'm very confident we're going to have Chris Jones extended. He's made it very clear his whole entire career that he's a Chief for life, and I don't doubt the man at all. I think if push came to shove and he needed to budge a little bit, I think he would to the benefit of the team. I really do believe that. And I know the Chiefs got to do what's best for the Chiefs, though. Money wise, things like that. Patrick Mahomes has even proven that from the top. From his leadership, he's divvied money out and moved things around so we can keep guys here. It does have an eerily similar feeling to the Orlando Brown situation. We didn't extend him when we went into his last year, and we could have probably paid him a little less than what he was demanding his next year because he played really well that following year, his last year on his contract, and then it didn't work out. So Chris Jones could play this year without an extension. Obviously, this is his last year under the current contract. We don't want to let that happen. No, because if Chris Jones goes out there and has 15 to 16 sacks and absolutely balls out, we went into a Super Bowl, he's that much more expensive, bro. So I think getting him taken care of now makes the most sense, and I fully do believe to get taken care of. I think the relationship between him and the Chiefs has never really been damaged in any way, and I think there's love on both sides. I think it's just breaking out the calculators and figuring out the specifics of the math and who's going to get what, how they're going to figure that out, and what the length of the contract is going to look like, and how they're going to spread the money, how they're going to front load it, how they're going to do this, and what's best for Chris Jones, what's best for the Chiefs. Because at the end of the day, we got to do what's best for the team in order to maybe possibly bring other guys in and help this defense or help this offense out, bringing other veterans into this team.
At this point, I don't think there's any question the Chiefs are going to have to bring in more veteran help.
Yeah.
Like I said, if the Chiefs wanted to spend the majority of their available cap space that they would get through Chris Jones on D-Hop, I think we'll all live with that, and we can make do with what they have on defense right now. But because of the fact that isn't going to happen, now you have to focus on, okay, Yannick Ngakoue is still available. Is Carlos Dunlap wanting to still play football? Maybe you start mending some freaking fences with JUSTYN Houston and bring him back to Kansas City. There are options out there for the Chiefs.
Yeah, that's really that comes down to JUSTYN Houston too.
I get it. Beef. I'm saying amend the fences. Meet him halfway. Hey, look, man. We had a bad falling out, but we're a team that's winning Super Bowls now. You don't have one. No offense, but you don't. You were great here. You're third all time in sacks in Kansas City, third or fourth. Come back here, man. Play for another year. Try to win a Super Bowl with us. Let's get this full circle thing going, man. Let's get you in the Ring of Honor. Let's make some things happen.
Me personally, though, I hope Chris Jones gets extended here sooner than the like Shaggy said, between the second and third preseason game. I don't like distractions lingering.
Right.
I feel like this is it, regardless of how we feel about it, if we're confident he's going to get it or not. It's still a distraction. It's distracting on what we need to be focusing on. We have a lot going on. We have a lot of mystery to this offense, how it's going to look. There's a lot of other things we can actually be gearing our energy towards, and getting Chris Jones extended is something I feel like we need to get out of the way so we can focus on the things that are glaring actual needs and developing this offense. Chris Jones is who he is, and once we get that done, we know who he's going to be when the season starts. So getting rid of that distraction honestly kind of helps my peace of mind as a fan, and I damn sure is going to help the peace of mind of coach and the rest of the guys in that defensive locker room. So,
yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah,
we have, I think, so Ruby, I saw her comment.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, I don't want to assume the gender here. We don't know what they
Ruby.
are. Ruby, I'm going to answer your question, or the question is whether to front load the contract. Now, I'm assuming this is talking about Chris Jones. Yeah, I put my prediction out there. I said that the Chiefs are going to finalize Chris Jones on a 5-year, $125 million deal with about 75 of that guaranteed.
Right.
I think that the first 3 years should be fully guaranteed. Pay him around $25 to $27 million. And get those first 3 years in place because those are the most important ones. I think Chris Jones is definitely got another 3 years left in him where he can play at an all-pro level because he has no signs of slowing down. He's not young anymore, but he's not old either. He's kind of in that middle part of his career. We've seen guys like Fletcher Cox and Warren Sapp and guys like that in the middle parts of the defensive lines play into their mid-30s and play at a high level. I don't see why Chris Jones can't be the exact same.
He hasn't had any major injuries in his career.
I know he wears the knee brace and things like
Sure.
that. But I don't think that Chris Jones, we have any worries for Chris Jones declining anytime soon. Pay this man his money, pay him what he's worth. Actually, you don't even may have to pay him what he's worth because he might not ask for that.
Right.
But even if it costs the Chiefs $25 to $30 million, are we really going to sit here and say that as this team is currently constructed with no successor in place, that Chris Jones isn't worth every single penny? And it makes the job for all these young guys that much easier. From the front of the defense to the back of the defense. Having a difference maker like Chris Jones, a home wrecker like he is, getting home and getting the quarterbacks like he does on a normal basis.
Well, that statistic you said about him getting doubled and still getting success on the doubles is insane.
Yeah, he led he led players at his position in double teams, and also led in win rate. That is absolutely stupid.
That's
now,
the guy you pay.
You can make the case. Well, of course he's playing like that. He's trying to play for another contract. Yeah, we said that 3 years ago. And how's Chris Jones doing now? Still the best.
He's already
position.
had a big contract. He's
maybe
still...
the best defensive player in his career. Maybe the best defensive player in the league right now. And he already got himself $85 million.
As far as consistency goes, there's not many that compete with him, man.
No,
the guy's consistent as you can get.
All right, well, you know what? This is where we're going to draw the line, guys. If you do have any more before we end the show, we will get to you. But that is speaking for this week, man. We really appreciate all you guys dropping in. We know it's going to continue as the year goes on, and we, like I said, this is our getting our practice rounds in before the regular season starts because I know that's when the conversations are really going to start to pop off. But Trevor, we have one more order of business to get to. What is it called?
Hold this L.
Each and every episode, we finish off every episode with a series of L's in the world of sports. Whether those L's are friendly or not so friendly L's in the world of sports, we promise you, who is ever holding those L's in the world of sports, deserve those L's in the world of sports. Trevor Twidwell, who's holding the L for you this week, my man?
Man, listen. So, social media can be great. Social media can be awful. People can be great. People can be awful in person or online, whatever it is. There's been unfortunately for Patrick Mahomes, there's been a lot of backlash going on about him on his time while he's enjoying a different sport, enjoying the leisure of something else to get his mind off the sport that he dominates and works so hard at to get as a little bit of an escape to have some, man-to-man competition and something else that he can get his fingers on to kind of keep his competitive juices alive and focus on him for a little bit, have a little bit of him time because God knows he probably doesn't get a lot of that. Being a full-time dad to a husband and an elite top-tier GOAT status quarterback in the NFL. It's a lot. As many of you know and as many of you have seen already on this whole, when he was doing that golf tournament with Klay Thompson, Steph Curry, and Travis Kelce, the whole situation there that was really about them getting out there and doing that for him. And there was charities involved, things like that. There was that dad that when Patrick Mahomes was getting ready to go tee off, or not tee off, but I think wherever he was, golf is not a sport that you just stop and communicate with people and dap up people and sign babies and sign autographs and have lengthy conversations that get your mind out of the game. That is a game you have to remain locked in on, a game that requires silence. Especially when you're about to have your get into your swinging motion and get into your backswing. That's why the whole the unwritten rule of don't talk to someone on their backswing, don't communicate with someone, don't talk to them while they're trying to swing. Granted, I know that situation was more for entertainment and so on and so forth, but Patrick Mahomes was out of his element. He was enjoying some of his time. This is more of a speculative thing for people to come in. If they want to show up and watch, they can show up and watch. But this is not Patrick Mahomes sitting at a desk and offering to sign autographs for people. And this isn't media day, right? This isn't training camp or the Saturday family fun day or whatever when you're out there and everyone's trying to get autographs. And that players understand that's what they're there for. This is Patrick Mahomes going out there and enjoying a nice day of golf with him and some friends of his, obviously with Travis Kelce and then Klay Thompson and Steph Curry. There was a father that was trying his damnedest to get Patrick Mahomes getting ready to get his golf swing on, trying to get him to sign an autograph for his son. And so what Patrick Mahomes says is, I can't, because Patrick Mahomes says he basically kind of just shrugged it off, turned it down, because he's in the zone. He's focused on playing golf. And you would think people would respect that, but the dad pressed him. And Patrick Mahomes followed up with saying, I can't make everybody happy, Mahomes says. To which the dad replies, no, you can. You can just make one kid happy out of 100. And then Patrick Mahomes says, I'll make 99 sad. Listen, Patrick Mahomes wasn't there to sign autographs, and he knew Patrick Mahomes this is in the spotlight for however long now already, understands that if he signs that one kid's shirt or that one kid's poster or that one kid's article of memorabilia, whatever it is that he wants signed, the hat or whatever the kid is wearing, whatever the dad was pressing for, he knows he's gonna have to stop what he's doing. He's up. He's about to get his swing in. He knows if he signs that one kid, he's going to piss off all those other kids. Everyone's going to go, oh, and everyone's going to come running to him and swarm him and try to get their John Hancock from the great Patrick Mahomes. He understands that's going to throw off the entire day, not only for himself, but it's going to slow the game down that he's playing a golf. And anybody knows who's played golf, and someone else is in front of you taking forever on their turn. It starts to piss you off because you'll lose your focus, and it's a very focus-driven game. Yep. And Patrick Mahomes wasn't willing to risk that. This is his time. He's doing something for himself for once. You know what I mean? Like he lives his life in the spotlight. This is kind of his moment where he's kind of just out there enjoying a leisure game amongst peers. And the audacity of just, no offense, the audacity of just citizens, normies, I'm going to call him a normie just because that's what he was acting like, trying to guilt trip Patrick Mahomes into signing his son's giving his son an autograph. It's a bad look for that guy. And I've honestly seen an overwhelming defense for the guy and a lot of backlash on Mahomes as if Mahomes has some kind of character flaw that he didn't want to sign give this kid an autograph. It's an entirely different situation, man, because Mahomes, like I said, he was trying to he was escaping from his normal day-to-day reality and wanting to go play a calming game of golf. And the whole idea of being a bystander of golf is to be silent.
Yep.
I mean, do you see Tiger Woods out there when he's getting ready on his backswing, stopping and going signing kids things? No,
not my backswing. That one.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like that's an unwritten rule, and anybody who knows golf knows that you don't talk to people when they're getting ready to get their swing in. It's silly. So the fact that people are trying to their social media has gone nuts. Like there's so many articles I've been seeing. I was looking into it. People trying to demonize Patrick Mahomes for not signing that. It's like you guys aren't seeing the big picture.
Right.
It's not about that one kid. It's about all the other kids, and Patrick Mahomes nailed it. I'm going to make 99 kids mad. So if he doesn't make this one kid happy, he can live with that. Because if he signs this one kid and make that one kid happy, and then all the other kids, imagine if he did. And now imagine all the other moms and dads online, oh, he didn't sign my sons, though. It'd be way worse than avoiding that one. So the people that have the backwards logic of getting mad at Mahomes for that, they're not getting the entire picture and trying to actually have some perspective of what Patrick Mahomes' life is probably like and all the good he has done, building parks and so on and so forth for kids, autographing kids things, no matter what, any opportunity he gets. It's just terrible to try to cast judgment on Patrick Mahomes, try to diminish who he is online. It's just social media is a cesspool sometimes, man. You know, this is why I don't dip my toes into it too often. But when I see that stuff, it's just
entitlement is an all-time high.
It's amazing, yeah, especially from like I said, this regular guy who's trying to get his son and trying to tell Patrick Mahomes what to do in that moment is wild to me.
Add to your point, Trevor, real quick. We have to understand something that is a very fundamental, common sense like rule of thumb here. Athletes do not owe us shit.
Right.
Okay? We choose to follow them.
Right.
They don't ask us. Like, when Patrick Mahomes started his Twitter account, Instagram account, started playing football, he wasn't like, hey, everybody come watch me play. No. You were drawn to him.
Right.
You wanted him. He didn't ask you. So when he goes and plays golf with Steph Curry and Klay Thompson, and by the way, we know how competitive this man is. Like you're saying, he's losing to Stephen this time after he's beating him. He doesn't want to lose again.
Right.
You're trying in the middle of what he's doing, do that. Now, I understand if like Patrick Mahomes was walking by and he said that to you, like I can understand why you would feel something.
Sure.
But again, these men, these women, these athletes do not owe you a damn thing because of the fact that you trying to flip that to make a profit is not their obligation.
And it would be different too if, like, I'm sure these guys paid. I'm sure that dad probably paid good money to be there to that event, right? To be a bystander and to watch the game take place. But if there was some kind of like fine print in there where you said, "Oh, you're guaranteed to get an autograph signing or something," which I'm sure there was moments after the game or before the game where the guys were out there signing autographs.
Of course.
That always happens at all these
Especially
events.
Patrick.
In the middle of his turn, he's getting ready to go up for his swing. You're going to bother him then? And then post it on social media like you're some kind of hero?
And we saw the match. We saw Travis
bro.
Kelce when he was getting bombarded by fans. He was being super classy. Hey, bro, meet me after.
Right.
And I guarantee you he was signing after.
Yes.
Because we see these guys at practice in the 100-degree heat after practicing for 3 hours. Out here signing autographs. Patrick Mahomes especially.
Right.
You know how many millions of autographs that man's probably
He's
signed
a
in his time?
superstar, man.
Come on, man. So, like, to sit here and pull out this one video and try to make him look like an asshole when he wasn't even being a prick. He was just, like, telling this guy how it is. It'd be one thing if he ignored him, like, hey, man, get the fuck back or something.
Right,
like,
right.
You know, being a dick to him, like, well, you know, I kind of still depend.
He was
Patrick
actually
Mahomes,
being the
but
bigger and better person, saying,
yeah.
I'm going to make 90 other kids upset.
And then you're showing your child that. Not to get too deep into all this, but you're showing your child
No, it's a lot.
how to act in these moments.
Right.
You don't think that's going to play in
And then telling
10
Patrick
years from
Mahomes,
now?
no, you can. You're going to tell me what I can and can't do, bro? You better. It's just wild to me, the audacity and the entitlement
We aren't
of this
entitled to
guy.
anything of these people, man. They're
It's
their
crazy.
own people
Yeah.
living their lives. You back the fuck off and let them live their lives. They don't owe us shit.
Yeah, so the entitled dad there and the poor kid that had to endure that embarrassment and all the social media propaganda and all the headlines that have been trying to twist this into like making Mahomes seem like a bad guy. All of you, the entire group of all you bullshit artists, do me a solid favor and hold this L.
So you guys know that Hard Knocks is about to kick off because training camp is kicking off, and we know that the Jets, one of the more prominent teams, one of the biggest like storyline teams wise, are going to be the team that we're watching at Hard Knocks, which I'm actually pretty intrigued by because I'll be honest with you,
excited about this.
Like the Lions was pretty cool. Like I thought the Lions, because obviously Dan Campbell's a big personality, and we didn't really know what the Lions were going to become.
We didn't care about that team that much, though.
Yeah, exactly. It wasn't like a huge like attachment. I mean, we all care about Aaron Rodgers, and we know this Jets team was
He's
a
a
quarterback
soundbite
away.
waiting to happen.
You know, a quarterback away from being a team that could potentially contend for a Super Bowl this year because the Jets have an incredible defense. They have skill position players out the ass. They have
big personalities.
A decent offensive line. It's not that great, but it's okay if Mekhi Becton can stay healthy for once. But no, the Jets are an interesting story. But one of the things that I've always had a problem with, and I'm not trying to take credit for this because it has nothing to do with me, but something that I always disliked about Hard Knocks, to be honest, is watching a man lose his job. I didn't like that part. I always thought it was really unfair to the player when the cameras would be rolling and the GM and the coach would sit there, or whoever was telling him, hey, you know, we're going to let you go. I always thought it was wrong. I didn't like it because I would hate it if my company was firing me for people to watch. Like that's hurtful in my opinion. Like I know it's a part of the business. I'm not debating that. No. I know that's a part of the job, but I feel like Hard Knocks was kind of like, you know, sensationalizing somebody losing their career, basically. Because some of these guys may never get another chance in the NFL, and that's heartbreaking. Because these guys go out here and try their best, man, and some of them just aren't good enough, or the team doesn't identify them, whatever the case is.
Yeah.
So GM Joe Douglas for the Jets made a deal with Hard Knocks. He said, look, you guys will have access to all the stuff you guys want, but when players are cut, you guys don't get that. So he's standing up for these players that won't even make his team. These are guys that will not make his team. They're going to be 40-plus cuts that the Jets are going to have to make over this next month. And he's not letting Hard Knocks get any of them. I commend Joe Douglas for doing that. I think that's something that is very commendable, and honestly, I think it's quite shameful that no other GMs tried to fight Hard Knocks for this, because Hard Knocks, I understand they're trying to stay relevant because we have quarterback now. We have all these other, sources for information and inside information, that Hard Knocks isn't as groundbreaking as it once was. So I understand the pressure of them wanting to keep all the stuff that's dramatic, because we know that's what draws people. But I love the fact that we don't get to watch these men have their dreams shattered in front of us for our entertainment. I don't want that.
Yeah.
If we're going to see an injury on the side, on the field in practice, they can film that, because that's a risk in the game. That's a part of the game. But I don't need to see a guy that's out here, that's fighting for his career, maybe even fighting for his family, to be told you're not good enough, we have to let you go. I don't need to see that. We know it's going to happen. You know what I mean? So Joe Douglas, you get a W for that, man. Who doesn't get a W from me this week is actually a guy that a lot of you have become a big fan of as well, just like me, is Mr. Jason McIntyre from the Herd, co-host of Colin Cowherds, who has been known to, needless to say, make Colin look really good in a lot of these shows because of these horrifically outlandish at best takes that he's been having. And one of those was when Colin Cowherd brought up the top 10 wide receivers in the league, according to ESPN, which their top 10 read off 1 to 10. Justin Jefferson, Devontae Adams, Jamar Chase, Tyreek Hill, Cooper Kupp, Stephon Diggs, A.J. Brown, DK Metcalf, Terry McLaurin, CeeDee Lamb. Now, I may disagree on how some of these guys are ranked, or some of these even belong in the top 10, which there are about 3 of those guys I would not have in my top 10. Regardless, this is what Jason McIntyre had to say about former Chief and current Dolphins wide receiver Tyreek Hill.
This is a wide receiver list. That's all this is. And these, not top 10 guys who could potentially take a carry out of the backfield, do a jet sweep, break tackles. That's not what the list is.
It's basically Tyreek Hill that does all that.
Anyway, all right, let's move on to the final story.
He's a great receiver.
Does that, and
He's super fast. That's all he is. Come on, he's
by
got
the way,
massive numbers. I get it. He's super fast.
So according to Jason McIntyre, Tyreek Hill is just super fast.
That's crazy, bro.
And let me preface this a little. Let me take it one step back. The reason why Jason and Colin were going at this so much and they were so passionate before that clip started was Jason McIntyre trying to make a case that Deebo Samuel is a top 10 wide receiver in today's NFL. He's not. He's a weapon. He's nasty. He's dangerous. But the majority of Deebo Samuel's skill set is running the ball, actually, if we're being honest here. Because that's why Deebo Samuel started to defend himself and say, I'm not a running back. Because you guys remember, he was the whole contract extension he ended up getting. Yeah. He's like, I'm not a running back. I'm a wide receiver. But he plays like a dual threat, like a Percy Harvin, basically. Mm-hmm. Tyreek Hill isn't that. And so for Jason McIntyre to defend the guy he's defending, he wants to downplay what other Hall of Fame greats like Tyreek Hill are doing with their careers by saying he's basically a gimmick that's just super fast. And I like how Jason just kind of like oversimplified. I know he's got these great numbers. Yeah, well, how about we look up the numbers? Since 2018, Tyreek Hill is 7th in the league in catching percentage. And only 5 of those guys that are higher than him have had more targets. So really, he's a top 5 receiver in catch percentage. How about we look at reception since 2018? Tyreek Hill is 5th. How about we look at yards, receiving yards since 2018? Tyreek Hill is 2nd. How about we look at receiving touchdowns since 2018? Tyreek Hill is 2nd. He's just super fast? No, you're super stupid, dude. Because you can't sit here and talk about a guy who's top 5 in literally every single category of the last 5-6 seasons is just fast. You know who's just fast? John Ross. That's why he's going to make the practice squad at best for the Chiefs and has been a nobody in his career. No offense to John Ross, but he's just super fast.
MDS is really fast.
These guys are better than what it's just disrespectful to call a guy who's going to make the Hall of Fame, who's going to have some of the best numbers in NFL history at the wide receiver position to say he's just super fast. I know Colin hurt your feelings with all those facts he displayed, and again, I hope you guys go watch the podcast of that episode because Colin was just slaying Jason McIntyre for his Deebo Samuel top 10 wide receiver in the league argument he was trying to make, and then tries to go and downplay Tyreek Hill, which is just unfathomable because Tyreek Hill has been significantly better at the wide receiver position than Deebo Samuel has. And I love Deebo. I think Deebo is incredible, but it's not even debatable, guys.
No.
Tyreek Hill at worst is the 4th best wide receiver in the league. At worst.
And Deebo's hurt a lot too, bro.
You can't even compare him. You can't compare him. Look at the contract that Tyreek Hill just got.
Right.
Look at the numbers he's put up with multiple teams now and 3 different quarterbacks, I might add, and tell me this guy is just super fast.
No. Willingly ignorant, bro.
Jason McIntyre, you're just super deaf and dumb. Do me a solid, brother, and
hold this L.
This tone deafness, man. I don't know how he's made it to this level, man.
Maybe because he gets people talking about because he makes such terrible takes. I don't know. Maybe. He gets the rating, gets the eyeballs because people like to speak how lame and dumb
it just looks
his
so
takes
bad,
are.
man. To sit there and say that a player at that magnitude is just fast. That's unreal, man. That's just pure disrespect. But you know what's not pure disrespect is what you guys have brought to the table today as well, man, because we really appreciated your guys' today. We appreciate you guys tuning in, watching the show, listening to the show. If you've not already done it, we tell you at the top and we'll tell you at the bottom. Hit us up on YouTube, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification button as well, so whenever we do go live, you guys are notified and you can jump right in. And then obviously the most important part, hit us up in the comments. Let us know on YouTube what you guys are thinking. Get your questions in, get your takes in. Let us know what you guys want to discuss, what you'd like us to reply to. That is the most important part of our show every single week. We want to be as interactive and as personable as possible. We're going to keep that trend going all the way into the regular season, into the postseason, hopefully into the Super Bowl, as we talk about the Chiefs potentially repeating this next season, guys, and I could not be more excited about what we got going on here. We got some great opportunities that we got here at the Spoken. Starcade Media as a whole has been killing it. We saw Patrick Mahomes share a story from Starcade Media on his Instagram yesterday. Absolutely awesome, man. There's a lot of growth. The vision that Clint and Noah have been putting out there, guys, we are a part of, and we're trying to do our best to help grow it as well as we continue to grow our brand. And I hope that you guys want to tag along because it's a great thing we got going, guys, and we're very excited for what's to come in the future. So for that, for Trevor Twidwell, for the great Clay Windler that puts all this together on the back end, I am Lance Twidwell of the Spoken Podcast. Episode 226 is done, finished, and finito. And until we're back here in 1 week's time for episode 220 after Shaggy Shane, Clay Windler, and myself go to training camp and give you guys my immediate reactions with Trevor Twidwell as far as what I'm seeing from Chiefs training camp, we out of this bitch.
Later.